Lu Wanqing held the Lingxi sword in her hand. Without any warning, her figure shot out towards Lu Chen. The Lingxi sword in Su's hand aimed at Lu Chen's heart. As long as Lu Chen is killed, what belongs to her will still be hers. At this moment, there was only madness and morbidity in her eyes. Lu Chen's pupils shrank suddenly, and his eyes were filled with gloom. He gritted his teeth weakly and said, "He's really crazy. He's another idiot who doesn't know how to live or die." Then, Lu Chen raised his arm and slapped the air in front of him. A clear sound of applause echoed across the ruins, and Lu Wanqing's delicate body was actually blown away by Lu Chen. Even if Lu Chen is only at the end of his strength at the moment, he is still more than enough to deal with a loser like Lu Wanqing. Lu Wanqing squatted on the ground, with 5 shocking handprints glowing with blood on her delicate and white face. She stretched out her trembling catkins and gently touched her face, feeling the pain and itching on her face. I cried weakly. Lu Chen pulled Lu Wanqing's hair, pulled her head and said coldly, "Do you still want to kill me now? Even Chu Feng is lying at my feet like a dead dog, let alone you, this waste." Lu Wanqing felt that her scalp was about to be torn off by Lu Chen. She was as helpless as a homeless child and could only win the sympathy of the people around her through crying. "Enough. Lu Chen, let go. If you have any questions, let's talk about it after all the guests have left." A serious and cold voice cut through the air and reached Lu Chen's ears, causing his body to tremble. Lu Chen gritted his teeth slightly. After a brief hesitation, he calmly released his grip on Lu Wanqing's hair, turned around and said, "Yes, Dad. The duel is over." Mr. Chen quickly got down and checked Chu Feng's injuries. Fortunately, Chu Feng's meridians were not damaged, and Mr. Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Zhenshan glanced at Lu Chen fiercely, then knelt down, picked up Chu Feng, and prepared to leave the Lu family. I thought that Chu Feng would shine in the Lu family today, but unexpectedly, Lu Chen showed up halfway. How could this kid Lu Chen be so talented in martial arts? Even Chu Feng was no match for him. "Mr. Chen, I have embarrassed you." Chu Feng looked sluggish and lost the arrogance he had at the beginning. Even his voice became as thin as a mosquito. If Mr. Chen hadn't been lying next to his mouth, he might not have been able to hear what he was saying. "Chu Feng, don't talk. You have already done a good job. All you need to do next is to leave it to me and I will take you away." Mr. Chen looked indifferent and promised firmly. At this time, Lu Zhanyuan, who had been silent for a long time, said, "Mr. Chen, please stay. Have you forgotten something?" Chen Zhenshan was stunned for a moment, pretending to be confused and said, "I don't have a very good memory. I wonder what I forgot." "Mr. Chen, please stop pretending to be confused. According to the bet, Lu Chen wins. Your little friend Chu Feng will keep an arm as the price for breaking into my Lu family and making such nonsense." Lu Zhanyuan's every word was cold, piercing Chen Zhenshan's heart like a biting ice pick. Chen Zhenshan lowered his eyes and looked at Chu Feng. At this moment, Chu Feng's face was as pale and weak as a piece of white paper. If he lost another arm, his life would be over. Chen Zhenshan laughed loudly and said shamelessly, "It's just a joke between juniors. Why do you take it seriously, Lu Zhanyuan?" "A joke? Lu Chen, come here and tell this shameless old man that the bet between you and Chu Feng is a joke." Lu Chen's figure appeared next to Lu Zhanyuan and looked at Mr. Chen playfully. He sneered and said, "Of course not. Chu Feng and I have sworn hatred. Naturally, the bet cannot be given up casually. After all, if I lose, you will definitely not let me go easily." "Haha, little friend Lu Chen, you may not know my name yet. They all respectfully call me Mr. Chen. In the Dragon Kingdom, I can be regarded as one of the most popular people in the world. Today, little friend, please be more generous and let me take Chu Feng away. I will definitely come to thank you in the future." "There's no need to come and say thank you. Just let Chu Feng keep an arm," Lu Chen said indifferently. Chen Zhenshan said reluctantly, "Although I have retired from the martial arts world for many years, my words are still effective to a certain extent in Yanjing. Little friend Lu Chen, if you allow Chu Feng to leave safely, the benefits will definitely not be lost to your Lu family. If Chu Feng doesn't cut off his arm today, no one will be able to step out of the Lu family." As soon as Lu Zhanyuan said these words, all the elders of the Lu family were on guard to prevent accidents from happening. Chen Zhenshan was angry. He didn't even want to lose face. Such a humble request. But Lu Chen and his son did not give in at all. I really think he is easy to bully. Chen Zhenshan glared angrily and said with a stern tone. Lu Zhanyuan, if you continue to be aggressive, don't blame me for being rude to you. Lu Zhanyuan raised his eyebrows and said sarcastically, you shameless man, you really don't even have a face. Chen Zhenshan kept gesturing to Ji Wuchang and Hong Tianxiang behind Lu Zhanyuan, hoping that they would stand up and speak for him. Ji Wuchang looked like this and immediately closed his eyes to rest. He didn't even bother to look at this old man who was unwilling to fulfill his bet. If you can't even accept defeat, no matter how evil Chu Feng's talent is. In his eyes, Ji Wuchang is a waste. The corner of Hong Tianxiang's mouth twitched slightly, her charming eyes moved tenderly, and she chuckled softly. Lu Zhanyuan, Mr. Chen. Hong Tianxiang, do you have any say here? If you want to help this old man, you can, but you don't have to talk about letting me guard the ancient ruins, Lu Zhanyuan said unceremoniously. Hong Tianxiang looked at Mr. Chen, chuckled and shook her head. She had tried her best. For Mr. Chen, it was obviously not a wise move to offend Lu Zhanyuan. What's more, deep in the ancient ruins, there has been a constant tide of beasts recently. That's obviously what happened there. If there is no powerful martial emperor guarding the ancient ruins, the monsters inside will escape. The consequences are definitely not something she can bear. Mr. Chen was in a dilemma. He never doubted Lu Zhanyuan's courage. As Chen Zhenshan spoke, he seemed to have aged dozens of years in an instant. Finally, he seemed to have made a lot of determination and said, Lu Zhanyuan has to be merciful and merciful. If you push me into a hurry, I might do something. What's more, if I want to leave, I'm afraid there is no one here. Anyone can stop me. Oh, really? Then I want to see how capable you, Chen Zhenshan, are, and how capable you are of escaping from me. Lu Zhanyuan showed curious eyes and looked at Chen Zhenshan with a joking smile. Seeing that Chen Zhenshan's face was ashen, Xu Feng said angrily through his teeth, Mr. Chen, let me down. They want my arm, and I am willing to surrender to them. That's it. Xu Feng's words shocked everyone present. I didn't expect Xu Feng to be so knowledgeable. But, how could Chen Zhenshan bear to let Xu Feng break his arm? He was furious and said with angry eyes, Okay, Lu Zhanyuan, don't you want little friend Xu Feng's arm? I'll give it to you. Chen Zhenshan gently put Xu Feng down, and then grabbed hold of, with his strong and powerful hands. Chen Zhenshan's strong and powerful hands suddenly grabbed his right arm. He roared violently, and a bloody severed arm drew an arc in the air and landed impartially at Lu Zhanyuan's feet. Lu Zhanyuan looked at the severed arm at his feet, frowned slightly, and thought to himself. Who is Xu Feng? How could Chen Zhenshan do this for him? Chen Zhenshan lowered his eyes and looked at his empty sleeves and said angrily, Are you satisfied with this, Lu Zhanyuan? Xu Feng lost all his thoughts. Looking at the gray-haired one-armed old man in front of him, his heart almost collapsed, and 2 lines of clear tears fell from the corners of his eyes. The two only knew each other for 3 days. This old man was actually willing to do this for him. Xu Feng felt sad in his heart, and his face was already filled with tears. He must not die here. Let Mr. Chen's efforts be in vain. Ding! It is detected that the heart of Xu Feng, the son of destiny, has collapsed. The reward is 50,000 destiny points. Continuing to collapse. Xu Feng, the son of destiny, has 75% remaining luck. Lu Chen pursed his lips, took a step forward and said, Old thief with gray beard, are you mistaken? The bet between me and Xu Feng is his arm, not yours. It will be very difficult for me to handle this. You. Just when Chen Zhenshan was about to go crazy, Lu Zhanyuan raised his palm to signal Lu Chen to shut up. Chen Zhenshan, hurry up and get lost. If I change my mind later, it will be too late. Lu Zhanyuan's demonic whisper sounded, and Chen Laoru, as if he had been granted amnesty, picked up the sluggish Xu Feng with his broken arms, not daring to stop at all, and disappeared from everyone's sight. Just when Lu Chen thought the dust had settled, Lu Zhanyuan suddenly turned his eyes and asked coldly in a voice that only Lu Chen could hear. Lu Chen. Are you really my son Lu Chen? The smile on Lu Chen's lips seemed to freeze for an instant, and his sharp gaze like a judge made his hair stand on end. Lu Chen was stunned and said, Dad, what are you talking about? He knows his son better than his father, and Lu Zhanyuan has seen the changes in Lu Chen these days. Under Lu Zhanyuan's gaze, It seemed that all of Lu Chen's disguises had been seen through. Lu Chen didn't understand why Lu Zhanyuan suddenly asked such a ridiculous question. He didn't know how to answer for a moment, admit or deny. What are the consequences? If he admitted it, would Lu Zhanyuan kill him? If he denied it, how could Lu Zhanyuan believe him? Lu Chen was silent for a long time. Finally, I chose to shut up. There was no answer to Lu Zhanyuan's question. Lu Zhanyuan was completely sure in his heart that the Lu Chen in front of him was definitely not his son. He is simply too perfect, too perfect. Lu Zhanyuan seemed to have expected it. He did not get angry, but said calmly, "What did you do to my son?" Lu Chen raised his eyes and did not avoid Lu Zhanyuan's eyes. "Dad, now I don't know how to explain everything that happened to me. Give me some time, and I will definitely tell you everything that happened to me." Lu Zhanyuan felt disappointed and said expressionlessly, "No matter who you are now, if you dare to do something detrimental to the Lu family, I will never let you go. Lu Chen, I am waiting for the day when you confess everything to me." "I understand, Dad." Lu Chen felt anxious in his heart, and agreed after a brief hesitation. "You too, let's go, we have nothing to do here anymore." Lu Zhanyuan stood in the sky, looked at Ji Wuchang and Hong Tianxiang and said calmly. They had been delayed for too long because of Lu Chen's matter, and it was time to leave. Hong Tianxiang looked back with a charming smile. Her exquisite jade body was uneven. She moved her slender and white slender jade legs, and said with a smile, "Lu Chen, I am looking forward to meeting you again. I hope you can become stronger by then." Ji Wuchang held the rusty iron sword on his chest, his eyes full of fighting spirit, but he didn't say much. Because now is not the time. One day, he will have a fight with this evil guy in front of him to see who is stronger. After the three martial emperors left, Lu Chen came back to his senses and looked at Lu Wanqing. Lu Wanqing's eyes were filled with tears, and her tender face without makeup was full of panic, and she was indescribably pitiful. At this moment, she wished she was dreaming, but the burning pain on her face told her how real this all is. "Elder, according to the ancestral teachings of my Lu family, how should Lu Wanqing be dealt with?" Lu Chen touched his chin and said with a cold look in his eyes. Lu Zhanyuan is gone. Now he can play with Lu Wanqing without any worries. Even if he kills her, no one will care about him. But that seemed too cheap for her. Lu Chen wanted to pay back 100-fold for all the discomfort Lu Wanqing had brought to him. Lu Zhanwang said with a strong face, "According to the ancestral teachings of the Lu family, if Lu Wanqing assassinates the head of the family, he will be punished with a staff of 100, and his bones and muscles will be broken. If he colludes with outsiders to seek power and usurp the throne, he will be punished with a staff of 80, and his body will be quartered with 5 horses. Lu Chen, you can't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm your sister. I will listen to you in everything from now on. Woo-woo." There was no compassion in Lu Chen's narrow eyes. Crocodiles can also cry. Although Lu Chen has promised Lu Zhanyuan not to hurt Lu Wanqing, does he care about the promise? But Lu Chen was not willing to kill Lu Wanqing like this. It would be too easy for her. On the contrary, Lu Wanqing was left with a lifeless life, and she was completely reduced to a useless person who could only survive and continue to provide Lu Chen with destiny points. "It's okay if I don't kill you. From now on, you will be the lowest slave of my Lu family. Your dignity and freedom no longer belong to you." Someone will drag Lu Wanqing down and punish her with a cane of 200, cut off her meridians and beat her, break her dog legs. Don't. Woo-woo. Lu Chen, I beg you, don't. What? Lu Wanqing, do you still have complaints? No. No. I listened to your brother. But I'm afraid of pain. Please let me go. Lu Wanqing's voice trembled slightly. How could she dare to complain at this moment? With a sneer on his lips, Lu Chen stepped forward and kicked Lu Wanqing to the ground with a fierce kick. He stepped on Lu Wanqing's head with his right foot and said cruelly and gloomily, "What qualifications do you have to call me brother? You are just a bastard picked up by my Lu family out of compassion. If you dare to scream again, be careful, I will tear you to pieces. Your mouth." "Huh, Lu Wanqing, I still like your rebellious look better than you groveling and begging for mercy." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. Now he knows how to call him brother. Unfortunately, it's too late. Lu Zhanwang frowned slightly and mumbled, as if he was about to speak but hesitated. Lu Chen naturally knew what these old immortals wanted to do, which was to plead for Lu Wanqing. Lu Chen stared at everyone with murderous eyes and said in an extremely low voice, "Anyone who dares to plead for Lu Waning will be treated as a murderer without mercy." It's the head of the family. Following Lu Chen's order, Lu Waning was forcefully dragged to the torture device by the Lu family's slaves. "Ah, brother, I was wrong. This time I really know I was wrong." Lu Waning looked around pitifully, her eyes as clear as water filled with fear. Until now, Lu Waning seemed to be expecting something. But no one dared to save her this time. Ding, it is detected that Lu Waning, the daughter of destiny, is having an inner collapse, and she will be rewarded with 20,000 destiny points. Continuing to collapse. As the executioner raised the iron rod in his hand, yes, it was an iron rod, the pitiful wailing sounds sounded one after another. Lu Waning was completely desperate. She felt a heartbreaking pain in her calf. She bit her whitened lips tightly with her teeth. Her face was as pale as white paper, and her messy black hair was stuck to the corners of her mouth. It was funny. Lu Chen couldn't help but chuckle. The wails of ghosts and gods continued for a long time and did not stop until Lu Waning completely passed out. Drag him down and put him in the dungeon. Yes, head of the family. The host significantly changes the plot, severely injures the son of destiny, and rewards the 9-turn heartbroken grass ×1, and the heart-eating soul-eating GU ×1. Current destiny value: 350,000. Listening to the mechanical sound in his ears, Lu Chen opened the character panel of the system. Host: Lu Chen, open black lens bracket, age close black lens bracket. 20, realm. The peak of the 4th level Wuzong. The current improvement requires 300,000 destiny points. Weapons: Drinking Spring Sword, Dragon Soul Needle. Items: 9-turn heartbroken grass ×1, heart-eating soul-eating GU ×1. Destiny value: 350,000. 9-turn heartbroken grass. A poisonous weed that grows in extremely poisonous places. One plant is enough to kill an entire city. Heart-eating soul GU. Those who eat this GU must not betray for the rest of their lives, otherwise they will suffer the pain of heart-eating soul. Lu Chen stared at the introduction of the two props on the system panel and frowned secretly. This waste system was finally willing to give him something useful. Lu Chen frowned slightly, thinking about who should enjoy it. In a barren mountain somewhere in Yanjing, the verdant green bamboos move with the wind, and the bamboo leaves rustle against each other, accompanied by the unknown sound of insects among the grass and trees. It is quiet and quiet. Deep in the bamboo forest, inside the wooden house, an old man with a broken arm looked anxiously at the young man whose face was as pale as gray on the bed. The two people were Chen Zhenshan and Xu Feng, who had escaped from the Lu family after a narrow escape. Chen Zhenshan did not dare to make any pauses along the way, and fled with Xu Feng all the way to the depths of this barren mountain where few people visited. This is also where he lives in seclusion. Little friend Xu Feng, I will call a doctor for you right now. You must hold on. Chen Zhenshan stood up and was about to leave. Xu Feng whispered as softly as a gossamer. Mr. Chen. I'm sorry. I have nothing to be sorry for. Everything I did was voluntary and has nothing to do with you. Xu Feng smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Chen. The only ones who can heal my injuries now are my senior sister, and my master. Where are they? I'll help you find them. Yangshan. Xu Feng used his last strength to squeeze out 3 words from between his teeth. He could no longer bear the pain from everywhere in his body and passed out. In the early morning, the warm morning light shines through the thin cracks between the curtains and shines on Lu Chenfeng's handsome profile. Lu Chen opened his dark eyes and rubbed his fluffy hair lazily. Yesterday, he spent 30,000 points to redeem a healing elixir from the system's mall. The effect was surprisingly good. In just half an hour, his injuries have healed. Lu Chen gathered his thoughts and wondered if his guess was correct. Xu Feng should have informed that bitch Feng Zhu about the injury. But now, the person who gives Lu Chen the most headache is not Feng Zhu, but Xu Feng's senior sister Xie Yuxuan. Xie Yuxuan possesses some kind of ice physique, which complements Xu Feng's pure yang body. If yin and yang combine. What does this mean? Needless to say, right? It seemed that Lu Chen needed to do something. Xu Feng must not be allowed to become stronger. Only one of him and Xu Feng can survive. Lu Chen opened the door and walked out. He was greeted by Cheng Yuyang, the old housekeeper of the Lu family. Patriarch, you're awake. Su Haoran, the head of the Su family, has been waiting in the meeting hall for a long time. Cheng Yuyong reported respectfully. Su Haoran? What is he doing here? Lu Chen frowned and thought to himself, could it be because of the poison in Su Shengyu's body? I know, let him wait in the meeting hall. By the way, is that idiot Lu Waning awake now? Lu Chen said with a cold look in his eyes. Master, big and small. The criminal Lu Waning was imprisoned in the back mountain dungeon according to your instructions, but she has not woken up from her coma until now. Cheng Yuyong explained truthfully. If it weren't for Lu Chen, he would want to continuously obtain destiny points from Lu Waning. He really wanted to cut off Lu Waning's head immediately. But letting Lu Waning live like this was worse than death, which made Lu Chen more comfortable than killing her. The most important point is that many elders of the Lu family are not very convinced of Lu Chen. If they kill Lu Waning at this juncture, they may turn against these old guys. If you want to completely control the Lu family, you still have a long way to go. Su Haoran looked at the late Lu Chen with displeasure. He had been waiting for Lu Chen for 2 whole hours. It would be too disrespectful for this young man to come to see him now. Lu Chen nodded and said with a smile, I wonder why, Master Su, you came to me? The moment Lu Chen appeared, Su Haoran immediately came to his senses. Su Haoran's eyes narrowed and he said, Nephew Lu, I am naturally concerned about the poison in my father's body. It has been a long time since you cleaned out the poison in his body. Can you help him clean up the remaining poison now? Poison? Lu Chen suddenly said, Master Su, even if you don't tell me about this, I will never forget it. I will make preparations right away and go to the Su family in person to clean up the remaining poison in Grandpa Su's body. When Su Haoran heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Do you still want to prepare? He has been waiting for 2 hours. NTM requires a lifetime of preparation? Although he was very dissatisfied in his heart, he didn't say anything on his lips. After all, Lu Chen now holds Su Shengyu's life in his hands. After a long time, the Su family. Su Shengyu sat in a wooden wheelchair, looked at Lu Chen with a smile, and said with a hearty laugh, Master Lu, I have been waiting for you. Grandpa Su, you are such a bad boy. You are so busy with everything, so please don't blame me for not being able to come as soon as possible. Lu Chen apologized with a smile. How dare I blame you? You are now the youngest head of the 4 major families in Yanjing. You are really young and promising, ha ha ha. The corners of Lu Chen's lips raised slightly and he responded, Without further ado, Grandpa Su, I'd better remove the poison from your body first. Okay. I'm really sorry to trouble you. Afterwards, Lu Chen pretended to take out the dragon's soul needle. The golden needle was filled with sharp infuriating energy. Lu Chen gently twisted the needle and stabbed it into Su Shengyu's head. Su Shengyu's body trembled slightly, his cloudy old eyes suddenly condensed, and he felt an indescribable feeling of relief. A warm current traveled along the meridians in his body, and the dead flesh in his body seemed to be revitalized. After a long time, Su Shengyu exhaled a breath and praised sincerely. At first, I was extremely reluctant to believe that you were the one who saved me, but the shock you brought to me today, Mr. Lu, made me have to recognize him again. Give you a try. Genaishi will look upon you with admiration for 3 days. Lu Chen remained silent. You all had been dismissive of me before. Now, Master Lu, please come to my Su family's meeting hall. I have something important to discuss with you. Su Shengyu stroked his beard and smiled, feeling very relieved that the hidden dangers in his body were completely eradicated. Hearing this, Lu Chen frowned slightly and said suspiciously, Is it important? With curiosity, Lu Chen followed everyone to the Su family's meeting hall. When Lu Chen saw a familiar figure, he was surprised and said, Beizi. Brother Lu Chen, you're here. With a smile on her lips, Su Beizi jumped to Lu Chen's side, took Lu Chen's arm and held her in her arms. She felt the softness coming from her arms, which made Lu Chen stunned for a moment. This little girl is as clingy as ever. But when Su Beizi realized that Su Shengyu, Su Haoran and others came to the scene, instantly, her face turned red, and her face turned red. A trace of blush spread from her face to her neck and could not go away for a long time. Grandpa. You are not allowed to laugh. As if aware of everyone's gaze, Su Beizi lightly stamped her little feet and said coquettishly. Su Shengyu smiled and said nothing, while Su Haoran was so angry that his teeth were almost broken. How could he not be angry when he saw his daughter being taken advantage of by Lu Chen, a brat like Lu Chen? Lu Chen smiled and said, "Grandpa Su, what exactly do you want to discuss with me? If I remember correctly, you seem to be unmarried. Now that you have reached the age of starting a family, should you consider getting married and having children to continue the legacy of the Lu family?" Lu Chen glanced at the girl with her head bowed beside him. No matter how stupid he was, he could still understand the meaning behind Su Shengyu's words. Could it be that Su Shengyu wanted to betroth Su Beizi to him? No wonder Su Haoran kept glaring at Lu Chen and wanted to kill him. "Grandpa Su, I am only 20 years old this year. It is too early to say this now. 20 years old is not too young. You and Bai Ji have reached the age of marriage. Your Lu family and my Su family are families that have been inherited from the Dragon Kingdom for thousands of years. They're well matched. You also know that Bai Ji likes you." Su Beizi's face was red, and her voice was as thin as a mosquito's, and she said, "Grandpa, what nonsense are you talking about? I don't." Lu Chen showed some confusion. "My parents' orders, the matchmaker's words, and now that my father has just left for the ancient ruins, I am afraid that it is inappropriate for me to decide such an important matter alone." Su Haoran looked unhappy. Lu Chen shied away again and again, really taking himself seriously. Su Haoran couldn't hold back his temper and said, "Brother Lu, what do you mean? Do you think Bai Ji is not good enough for you now? The head of the Su family is joking. Bai Zhigui is the daughter of the Su family, how can she not be worthy of me? It's just that this is all too hasty and I can't make up my mind for a while." Lu Chen raised his eyes and explained. "Boy Lu, you know that Bai Ji likes you, and she never disliked you before you became the head of the Lu family." "That's enough, Su Haoran, shut up." After Su Shengyuba shouted, Su Haoran remained silent for 2 seconds, not daring to say anything more. At this time, Lu Chen smiled coldly and said, "Master Su. Master Su, you are a little too disrespectful. Now I am the head of the Lu family, and there is no difference in status from you. You talk like a Lu brat. Do you really think I have no temper?" Lu Chen glanced at Su Haoran with his cold eyes and said in a low voice, What are you? Your Su family just took a fancy to my talent. I have never forgotten your cold eyes on me. You disgusting thing, don't treat Bai Ji as a victim of profit," Lu Chen said sarcastically. Su Haoran was so angry that his whole body trembled violently. Lu Chen's child's wings were stiff and he was simply lawless. "That's it. Grandpa Su, I have some important matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first." After Lu Chen left these words, he turned around and left. He didn't even look at Su Beizi again. After Lu Chen's figure disappeared from sight, the girl could no longer suppress the tears in her eyes. Her soft and delicate body trembled slightly, and she wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes with her slender jade fingers. She kept sobbing. "Dad blames you. Brother Lu Chen is even angry. Woo-woo. If he ignores me, what should I do? Grandpa, look at him. Woo-woo. Lu Chen doesn't like Su Beizi? How can it be? Compared to that idiot Lu Wanqing, Su Beizi is so much better. But Lu Chen regards her more as a sister. What Lu Chen is most worried about is that someone will use Su Beizi against him. He didn't want to involve Su Beizi in his own affairs. At least before killing Chu Feng, he must keep a certain distance from Su Beizi. Lu family, Back Mountain. Boy, why are you so anxious to find me? Under the black Taoist robe, a pair of deeply sunken pupils stared at Lu Chen in front of him and said quietly, "Senior Dugu, I hope you can help me kill one more person." "Oh, why should I help you? Or can you give me the bargaining chip to make my heart beat?" Dugu Shu said word by word with an indifferent expression. There is no free lunch in the world, and Lu Chen naturally understands this truth. "Senior Dugu, don't refuse in a hurry. If you knew who I wanted to kill, you might be more excited than me." Dugu Shu's face was filled with frost, his dead eyes flashed slightly, and his voice was extremely low. "Before I kill someone for you, I will first help you deal with a bedbug that is looking for death." Bedbugs? Before Lu Chen could react, Dugu Zan's ghostly figure disappeared, and the tyrannical chi spread out without any reservation. A palm print of overwhelming blood suddenly struck into the dense forest, and the blood energy rose, accompanied by the overwhelming blood. Evil spirit. Wherever the blood palm passed, not a single blade of grass grew, and even the thick giant trees were blasted into pieces. The destructive power seems to be able to wipe out all life. Only a heart-rending scream was heard not far away. It was so frightening that it made one's scalp numb. Before Lu Chen could react, Dugu Zan appeared in front of Lu Chen with a person in his right hand, then threw him to the ground and asked coldly, "Boy Lu, is this a member of your Lu family?" Lu Chen was stunned and took a closer look. This person's face is swollen and sluggish, his eyes are black, bloodstains are constantly leaking from the corners of his mouth, and his messy white hair is scattered behind him. He does not look like a human being or a ghost. This person has been beaten by Dugu Zan to the point where he can no longer tell the difference. Show his original appearance. But Lu Chen could recognize that this person was wearing the gray robe of Elder Lu, which was the unique symbol of Elder Lu. After Lu Chen hesitated for a while, he asked weakly, "Third, Elder? Master, leave quickly. I am no match for him." Lu Jianan roared with all his strength. In just one round, he was captured by this person, which was enough to show how terrifying the opponent's strength was. If the other party's goal is Lu Chen, it will be difficult. This familiar voice, "It's really you, third elder. Senior Dugu, this is the third elder of my Lu family. I have no intention of offending him, but I would like to ask you to spare him." Lu Chen asked with his hands raised. It's just that it's puzzling to him. Why did Lu Jianan appear here? Could it be that those old guys sent him to monitor him? You, the immortals of the Lu family, all like to do stupid and sneaky things? Lu Chen. Lu Jianan, who was paralyzed on the ground, listened to the conversation between the two, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The black-robed weirdo in front of him turned out to be Dugu Shu, the GU master of southern Xinjiang, who is known as the poison master of 10,000 Gus. Lu Jianan couldn't help but feel scared. Dugu Zan made a big fuss about the birthday party of Su Shengyu, the old head of the Su family, and hijacked the dignitaries of Yanjing and forced Su Shengyu to drink the poison. How could he not know? In Lu Jianan's eyes, Dugu Shu was a complete lunatic. But Lu Chen was chatting and laughing with such a dangerous lunatic. He must be crazy. Dugu Shi asked calmly, "By the way, Mr. Lu, who do you want me to kill for you?" Dugu Shu's voice was extremely indifferent. To him, killing someone was as common as drinking water. In his eyes, human life was as trivial and without any extra value. "Another disciple of your mortal enemy Feng Zhu, Xie Yuxuan." After Dugu Shu left, Lu Chen helped up the weak Lu Jianan from the ground. Lu Jianan was breathing heavily as if he had survived the calamity. Under Dugu Shu's eyes, he even had to be careful when breathing, for fear that Dugu Shu would kill him if he was unhappy. "Master, when did you meet this crazy old man Duguchen? Do you know how dangerous he is? If he wants to kill you, let alone me, even if your father comes, he won't be able to stop him." "Third elder, don't worry, he won't kill me," Lu Chen said with great certainty. For Dugu Shu, Lu Chen was valuable. As long as Dugu Shu still hates Fengzhu, then Lu Chen will not die. Similarly, Dugu Zan also has value for Lu Chen. Currently, Dugu Shu is the best candidate for the heart-conning soul-eating GU. If he is allowed to eat this poison, then Dugu Zan will only obey Lu Chenyan and will not betray him for the rest of his life. Then, many things will be much easier to do. What just gave Lu Chen a headache? What method should be used to make Dugu Shu eat this heart-piercing soul-eating GU? If he were to notice the clues, Lu Chen would probably die without a burial place. "By the way, third elder, why do you appear here?" Lu Chen helped Lu Jianan to the old tree aside and asked. "Brother was worried that someone would do something bad to you, so he ordered me to protect you secretly. I didn't expect that when I met a lunatic like Dugu Shu today, I would be really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. Lu Jianan coughed dryly and continued, "As the head of my Lu family now, there is no shortage of people in Yanjing who want to kill you. Until you grow up to be independent, I will always protect you secretly." Lu Chen was flattered. That's why. The great elder is really thoughtful. In the past, let alone sending people to protect him, I didn't even bother to look at him. Such a contrast, tisk tisk. The moonlight at night is particularly soft. The flawless white moonlight shone in the courtyard, covering the vegetation with a layer of pure white moonlight. The Lu family's servants had already gone to bed, and Lu Chen stood alone on the second floor of the villa, stretching. Sure enough, the head of the Lu family was not as simple as he imagined, and the complicated affairs made him a little overwhelmed. Just when Lu Chen was about to go back to rest, There was a weak aura approaching him in the distance at an extremely fast speed. Lu Chen stared hard, murderous intent flashing deep in his eyes. Is anyone unable to bear it anymore? Send a killer to kill him so soon? I really have no patience at all. When Lu Chen was about to ask Lu Jianan, who was hiding in the dark, to take action, he saw the face of the person clearly under the moonlight. On the old face withered and crisscrossed by ravines, there were a pair of dim old eyes. Lu Chen murmured in surprise. Senior Dugu. The visitor turned out to be Dugu Shu, not the assassin he had expected. But at this moment, Dugu Shu's aura was extremely weak. Under the moonlight, his face looked a little pale, and an emotion he had never seen before appeared in his turbid pupils. He seems to be afraid of something. Dugu Cheng fled to the Lu family in panic, not daring to stop at all, and finally appeared in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen jumped down and landed in front of Dugu Cheng, supporting the old man who was unable to stand firmly. Dugu Shu's body was hunched over, his face was bloodless, half of his body was stained with blood, and his black Taoist robe exuded the pungent smell of blood. Lu Chen asked suspiciously, Senior, what's wrong with you? Dugu Shu raised his eyes and roared with all his strength, Good boy, you actually asked me to die? I almost fell into your trick and died in the hands of that bitch Fengju. Lu Chen was slightly stunned. Senior, do you mean that Fengju injured you? Who else could it be besides her? I underestimated her ability after all. The 8th grade demigod is so terrifying. I tried my best to save my life from her hands. Lu Chen miscalculated. He underestimated Chu Feng's status in Fengju's heart. I originally thought that Fengju would let Xie Yuxuan come to heal Chu Feng's injuries, but I didn't expect that she would come in person. It's really a deep relationship between master and disciple. Hee. Senior Dugu, how are your injuries? Are you blind? I tell you that you won't be able to ask me to help you kill anyone in the next 6 months, and prepare a place for me to heal immediately. I will retreat to heal. Lu Chen smiled coldly and said, So, Senior's injury is serious? You bastard, why are you laughing? Dugu Zan heard a chuckle and instantly raised his eyebrows in anger. You boy from the Lu family, this bastard dares to gloat over his misfortune. Senior Dugu, you also know that there is no free lunch in the world, why should I help you? Well, Dugu Shu looked at Lu Chen in astonishment with a cold face. Obviously he didn't expect Lu Chen to say such words. What's more, he was seriously injured because he was trying to help Lu Chen. Lu Chen pulled himself out from under Dugu Shu's arm, took a step forward, spread his hands and joked. It's not impossible for Dugu Shu to want me to help you, but the premise is that you can come up with a reward that makes my heart beat, otherwise it will be very difficult for me. The corners of Dugu Ruan's mouth kept twitching, and the veins on his neck popped out. It was always him who betrayed others. Today was the first time he experienced the feeling of betrayal. This taste is really unpleasant. It feels like eating dead flies in my mouth. What do you want? Dugu Rui's chest rose and fell, extremely angry. He tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart, and his tone was much heavier than before. Now that he is seriously injured, he must find a place to heal as soon as possible without any delay. Lu Chen smiled and said nothing, looking at Dugu Zan quietly. Dugu Cheng was heartbroken and took out a small bottle from under his sleeve. He said with a pained face. This is the Immortality GU. It can increase the upper limit of a warrior's lifespan. Here it is for you. Lu Chen took the Immortality GU from Dugu Zan's hand and shook his head disdainfully. He didn't like this kind of thing. Dugu Zan's eyes flashed with a strange light. Lu Chen was more greedy than he thought. If you don't kill this kid, once it grows up and escapes his control, it will definitely be a disaster. Boy, I advise you not to push yourself too far. Even I only have 2 Immortality GU. What do you want if I give you one? Senior Dugu, now you are dependent on others. If there is no reward that makes my heart beat, it will be really difficult for me to do things for you. In his whole life, Dugu Zan encountered such a shameless person for the first time. He dared to blackmail him. Are you tired of living? Do you believe I killed you? Dugu Zan said. Those strange eyes glowed with a faint light, like a dark lantern in hell, and the Emperor Wu's aura suddenly burst out. It's just that compared to the past, this power is a bit less impressive. Third Elder, let's take action. Since Senior Dugu is so ignorant, there is no need to talk nonsense with him. The sudden chill made Dugu Zan fall into a temporary loss of consciousness. When he came to his senses, the gray-robed old man Lu Waning had already appeared in front of him. Dugu Shu looked at Lu Waning in disbelief. How could it be possible? Lu Waning was severely injured by him this morning, but now he appeared in front of him safe and sound. Dugixu never doubted his own strength. He showed no mercy, enough to keep Lu Waning in bed for half a year. Lu Waning looked at Dugu Shu with palpitations. Even though Dugu Shu's aura was extremely weak, he still did not dare to show any disrespect to Dugu Shu. Lu Waning stood in front of Lu Chen, watching out for Dugu Shu to avoid any accidents. But he didn't dare to take action against Lu Chen's order. Who knows if the old guy Dugu Cheng has any backup plans? Ha ha ha, brat. You dare to kill me? Dugu Cheng looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Lu Chen actually wanted to kill him. This was definitely the most ridiculous joke he had ever heard in his life. The smile on Lu Chen's lips turned contemptuous and playful. Why don't you dare? I just can't bear to kill you, but that doesn't mean I don't dare to kill you. Now you're just at the end of your game. Isn't it easy to kill you? Good boy, this time I admit defeat. I have been tricked by you. I will lend you the GU worms I raised for a period of time as a reward. You should be satisfied with this, right? GU worm? Could it be the senior's natal GU? The natal GU is the lifeblood of the GU master. It is as important as life to the GU master. If one loses, both will suffer, and if there is a gain, both will be prosperous. It is no exaggeration to say that Lu Chen wanted to hold Dugu Shu's life in his hands. Are you joking with me? Do you know what the life GU means? I'm giving you my life GU. What's the difference between this and committing suicide? Of course I know. Don't you still know your situation, Dugu Shu? Even if you don't need your life GU, I can still kill you. There are only a handful of powerful martial emperors in the entire Dragon Kingdom, so killing Dugu Shu would be a bit of a waste. If he could take Dugu Shu under his command and be driven by himself, then many complicated things would be much simpler. Lu Chen lost his patience when he saw that Dugu Cheng refused to accept his offer. Third Elder, help me open his mouth. I have something good here that I want Senior Dugu to try. Under Lu Waning's control, Dugu Shu was forced to open his mouth. It's really like a tiger being bullied by a dog. He remembers today's humiliation, and the Lu family will be bloodbathed in the future. Lu Chen quickly took out the heart-eating soul-eating GU and poured it all into Dugu Shu's mouth. The heart-eating soul-eating GU tastes extremely bitter, and the bitter taste goes straight into Dugu Zan's throat, as if a sea of bitterness is spreading in his mouth. But how could Dugu Shu be so easily defeated? He tried to spit out the unknown liquid in his mouth, but under the obstruction of Lu Waning, he couldn't break free at all and could only swallow it helplessly. Dugu Chan's voice sounded like a drake, hoarsely. Despicable, what did you give me to eat, you bastard? Lu Chen smiled slightly and signaled Lu Waning to let go of Dugu Shu. Breaking away from Lu Waning's restraints, he knelt down directly on the ground, put his fingers into his throat, and kept retching, trying to spit out the soul-eating GU. At this moment, he felt as if he had eaten a bunch of dead flies, and his stomach was filled with discomfort, an upheaval. Dugu Cheng's farewell was in vain. What I gave you was the heart-eating soul-eating GU. I wonder if seniors have ever heard of it? Cone heart. Soul-eating GU. Dugu Zan's expression remained calm and determined, but his pale eyes were in a trance. Obviously he had not heard of the reputation of the heart-eating soul-eating GU. Lu Chen smiled jokingly and explained. To put it simply, anyone who eats this poison will not betray me for the rest of his life. Otherwise he will suffer the pain of heart-wrenching and soul-eating. Lu Chen's demonic whispers reached Dugu Cheng's ears. Dugu Cheng's rickety body heaved violently. He looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. Lu Chen actually fed himself such a vicious poison. I'll kill you, bastard. Dugu Chen let out a loud roar, and in an instant, a cramping pain came from his heart, causing his pale face to twist. The severe tearing pain almost made his chest explode, as if tens of thousands of poisonous ants were tearing at his heart, drinking his heart's blood. Ah! The heart-rending screams echoed in the empty courtyard, making people feel numb. Dugu Cheng did not believe in evil, so he kept beating his chest, trying to alleviate the heart-rending pain. However, the heart-conning soul-eating GU was too overbearing, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not suppress the pain in his nerves. After a long time, Dugu Shu finally gave up resistance and collapsed on the ground like a dead dog. There was no emotion in his eyes, as if they had become numb. The pain caused to him by the heart-eating soul was far greater than the physical injuries Fengju had caused him. Lu Chen's face was clouded, and he said in a low voice, "Senior is really easy to get angry. Do you still dare to have the slightest disobedience towards me now?" Seeing that Dugu Cheng was silent, Lu Chen stretched out 2 fingers and said with a cold voice, "I'll give you 2 choices, surrender or die. Dugu Cheng, you are also a smart man, choose one for yourself." Dugu Shu raised his ashen eyes and said solemnly, "Do you think I still have a choice now?" Seeing Dugu Cheng surrendering, Lu Chen looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. "Ha ha ha, Dugu Cheng never imagined that you would be here today. This is the healing elixir that I have given you, Master. I am so grateful." Lu Chen took out a dark wooden box from the system space and threw it to Dugu Shu, who had long lost all faith on the ground. Then, Lu Chen turned around and left. Ding, since the host has taken Dugu Shu under his command, the plot has been significantly changed and he will be rewarded with 200,000 life points. Destiny value. 460,000. The healing elixir that Lu Chen gave to Dugu Shu cost a full 30,000 life points. Lu Chen listened to the cold notification tone of the system and did not speak. Instead, he thought about how to deal with Feng Zhu's arrival. He was not sure when Feng Zhu would leave. If Feng Zhu continued to stay in Yanjing, it would be troublesome to deal with Chu Feng. Dugu Shu's face was filled with disdain. Ordinary elixirs were of no use to his current injury. But he didn't dare to disobey Lu Chen, so he could only put it away. Unbeknownst to Dugu Shu, the moment Lu Chen took out the wooden box, Lu Jianen's eyes could be seen burning with heat, even mixed with a trace of greed for his own possession. Is Dugu Shi worthy of taking such a precious elixir? What a waste! Lu Jianen's injuries could recover so quickly. It can be said that everything depends on the elixir given to him by Lu Chen. After taking the elixir, in just half an hour, the injuries caused by Dugu Shu were completely healed. If there is even the slightest news about such an elixir in Yanjing, I wonder what kind of bloody turmoil it will cause. How many people will risk their lives to snatch it? Senior Dugu, if you don't hurry up and heal your wounds, the head of the family is still waiting for you, Lu Jianen reminded. Dugu Shu stood up, glanced at Lu Jianen with a dark look, gritted his teeth and cursed secretly. You are an old boy who takes advantage of others. When I recover from my injury, I will kill you. Without any hope, Dugu Cheng opened the wooden box and swallowed the elixir into his mouth. The pure power of the medicine came from his mouth. Dugu Shu suddenly turned his head and looked at Lu Jianen, his eyes strange and surprised. This elixir. How can it be so powerful? As a GU master, he was naturally proficient in medical skills. Within the scope of his knowledge, his injuries were extremely serious and it would take at least a year and a half to fully heal him. The elixir Lu Chen gave him the illusion that he could completely recover in half an hour. Dugu Shi didn't dare to neglect. He sat down with his rickety body in the cross-legged position, and refined the violent power of this elixir. Half an hour later, Dugu Shu's injuries have been completely healed. No wonder you can break my soul-eating poison. It's not unfair for me to lose to you. Dugu Shu rolled his eyes, gritted his teeth slightly and said tentatively, I'll kill Lu Chen. Hiss. Dugu Shu covered his chest and broke into a cold sweat. Even if his injuries were healed at this moment, as soon as he had any unfavorable thoughts about Lu Chen, the pain in his heart would irritate his nerves. Fortunately, Dugu Zan's murderous intention towards Lu Chen was not too strong just now. He didn't want to experience the soul-eating feeling that life was worse than death. What makes Dugu Zan confused is where did Lu Chen get such a vicious poison? I don't know if there's any way to trick him into getting the secret recipe for the poison. I want you to experience the pain of chasing souls and devouring hearts. Hey, UNND. I'm just talking. Dugu Cheng beat his chest and stamped his feet, bared his teeth and said. Just a simple attempt made him so embarrassed. How did he refine the poison? Too vicious. After Dugu Shu recovered from his injuries, he found Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled meaningfully and said, By the way, I forgot to remind Senior Dugu, this heart-eating soul-eating GU also has a special ability, which is to link my life and yours together. To put it simply, you have to die even if I die, and nothing will happen to me if you die. If you don't want to die, you must listen to me carefully, otherwise. Hee. Do I have any other choice? Dugu Cheng said in a hoarse and low voice. What do you think? Unless you want to die. Dugu Cheng looked up to the sky and lamented. He never expected that he would fall into the hands of a bastard like Lu Chen. He had been in the world for decades, and he was bound to retaliate. There were very few people who could make him suffer. And Lu Chen actually completely controlled his life and death with that inexplicable poison. He hates it so much, more of an annoyance. In the dark sky, there are clouds, and the autumn rain falls sadly, disturbing people's mood. The drizzle poured down like ox hair, covering the mountains behind the Lu family with a thin layer of clouds and smoke, making it hazy. In a dungeon somewhere in the mountains behind the Lu family, rainwater fell along the gaps to the puddles in the dungeon, splashing and causing ripples, and the crisp sound echoed in the empty and spacious dungeon. The surroundings seemed silent and strange, and the air was filled with the smell of some kind of rotting animal corpse, and the stench was overwhelming. The girl with a shawl and a gray face opened her eyes in a daze at this moment. Although the clothes were dirty and messy, it did not affect the snowy and beautiful pink face under the messy black hair. The splitting headache made her rub her head involuntarily, and the dim environment in front of her also made Lu Waning slightly stunned. Above her head, there was a small iron window. From the iron window, a faint beam of light shone. With the faint light, she could clearly see Lu Waning's crystal-clear water eyes, which reflected the blue waves. She looked around. The unfamiliar environment made her feel a little scared. She tried to stand up, but he couldn't feel the existence of his legs. There was no feeling in his legs, as if they didn't exist. Lu Waning lowered her eyes and looked at her legs. Her legs and arms were shackled with thick iron chains, which were thicker than her arms. Only then did she remember that her cultivation had been abolished. It is simply impossible to break free with mortal strength. Lu Waning hurriedly lifted up her skirt. Her confused memory made her vaguely remember that after her legs were broken by Lu Chen, she was imprisoned in a dungeon. It was unclear what happened after that. I saw that the purple calf was filled with red blood, and the dark black blood marks had long been scarred. The shocking scars fell into Lu Waning's watery eyes. She could no longer suppress it and started to cry. Her leg is broken. The meridians were also broken. The family background she was once proud of was gone. From now on, she is completely reduced to a useless person. She really regrets it at the moment, but more than regret, she feels hatred. She was in such a miserable state today because Lu Chen brought her to him. Apart from revenge, she had nothing else on her mind at the moment. However, when he was reduced to a useless person and imprisoned in a dungeon, how could he talk about revenge? I don't know how much time passed. The tears in the corners of Lu Waning's eyes dried up. At this time, a ray of light overflowed from the distance of the dungeon, and the door of the dungeon seemed to be opened by someone. Lu Waning's body began to tremble unconsciously. She did not dare to hope that someone would come to save her. She could only pray that the person who came was not Lu Chen. She was so scared that her frightened body began to tremble slightly. Lu Waning raised her eyes, which were filled with water mist, and shed tears. Under the weak light, she looked indescribably pitiful. Grandpa Grand Elder. Lu Waning murmured weakly. Lu Waning stared at the visitor clearly, her pink lips parted in disbelief. The countless grievances deep in my heart turned into tears and flowed out from the corners of my eyes. Lu Zhanwang looked at the imprisoned Lu Waning and walked toward her step by step, with love flashing in his cloudy old eyes. Waning has been under their protection since childhood and has never been harmed in the slightest. As Lu Waning's grandfather, how could he bear to watch Lu Waning die in this dungeon? Grandpa Waning, I'm sorry for making you feel wronged. Grandpa Grand Elder, you are not sorry for me. It's all my own fault. It's just, you came to see me, Lu Chen. Does he know? Lu Waning worriedly said that judging from the current situation, if Lu Chen knew that Lu Zhanwang came to see her, he might not spare Lu Zhanwang lightly. But what Lu Waning was most worried about was that Lu Chen would come to retaliate against her after finding out, instead of causing trouble for the old man. What if Lu Chen knows about it? He beat you like this, wait for Lu Zhanyuan to come back and skin him. Lu Zhanwang said angrily that even if Lu Waning was not of his Lu family's blood, Lu Chen should not treat Lu Waning like this. Great Elder Grandpa, please go quickly, I'm fine. Grandpa came here today just to take you away, Lu Zhanwang said resolutely. Leave. I won't leave. Grandpa Grand Elder, I am already a useless person. I can never bring you down. Lu Wanqing thought for a while, shook her head and refused. Lu Zhanwang took a step forward, raised his knife and cut off the iron chains on Lu Wanqing's arms and ankles, causing sparks to fly. No, I won't leave. Lu Zhanwang's attitude was very tough and he directly carried Lu Wanqing on his back. I have reached this point. If I am discovered, all my efforts will be in vain. Lu Zhanwang turned to look at the girl struggling on her back and comforted her softly. Grandpa Grand Elder. Don't worry, Grandpa will be fine. I'll send you away from the Lu family right now. Hearing this, Lu Wanqing stopped struggling and grabbed Lu Zhanwang's robe with her pink fist. She grabbed the wrinkles out of the old man's robe, and then she weakly let go. Indeed, if you continue to stay here, whether you can survive is a question. Only by leaving here can we take revenge on Lu Chen. She vowed to kill Lu Chen. Outside the dungeon, drizzle was still falling. On the ground, several unconscious guards were lying in a mess. Lu Wanqing quietly closed her eyes and lay on the old man's back as if frightened, feeling the faint warmth on the old man's back. The old man carefully held Lu Wanqing's leg, fearing to hurt it, and then turned into a black rainbow light and shot towards the outside of Lu's home. Boom! There was thunder and lightning, a bolt of lightning pierced the sky, and a torrential downpour fell. Lu Chen looked out the window at the sudden heavy rain. He felt uneasy and felt that something had happened. There is an indescribable feeling in my heart, very depressed and irritable. I don't know if Lu Wanqing is awake. Don't die in the dungeon easily. I'm waiting for you to provide me with destiny points. It seems that after the rain stops, Lu Chen needs to visit Lu Wanqing. My sister was injured and lived in a dungeon because of me. My brother should go and visit her, right? Lu Wanqing will not be whitewashed. Kill Lu Zhanwang tomorrow. The rain has stopped, and the air in the mountains is exceptionally fresh and refreshing. When Lu Chen saw this, he also went directly to the Lu family dungeon to see if Lu Wanqing was dead. If it is not dead, it should make full use of its remaining value. When Lu Chen saw several figures lying in various shapes outside the dungeon, an ominous premonition came to his mind. There was a cold glint in Lu Chen's deep eyes. He eagerly pushed open the dungeon door, and was greeted by a sour smell, which seemed to be the smell of corpses that had long since rotted in the dungeon. Lu Chen looked around. There was no sign of human activity in the not-so-spacious dungeon. The mouse rushed out of the dark dungeon, squeaking, as if it was frightened. In the dungeon where Lu Wanqing was imprisoned, there were only broken chains on the ground. Lu Chen gritted his teeth in anger, clenched his palms tightly, and his bones made a crisp clicking sound. Lu Wanqing actually ran away. Not only did he break Lu Wanqing's legs, but he also destroyed her cultivation level so that she could escape. Lu Chen suppressed the anger in his heart and walked out of the dungeon angrily. His extremely cold eyes flashed with ice coldness. He glanced back at the unconscious guard on the ground, and then took out the drinking spring sword. The sharp sword was unsheathed and the sword energy buzzed. He raised the sword and dropped it, and his round head rolled down. Blood dripped along the blade and flowed to the depression on the wet ground. After everything was done, Lu Chen kicked the body and spat softly. You are a waste who has failed to achieve anything but failed. Just die here. He didn't need to ask who rescued Lu Wanqing. Who else could it be besides those old guys? These guards are all 5th grade martial lords. To be able to rescue Lu Wanqing without damaging their lifeblood was to say that he was in the realm of a 6th grade martial saint. You'd better not let me know who you are, or I'll kill you. Even if you are the elder of my Lu family, Lu Chen gritted his teeth and thought to himself. This kind of family boor should be killed. If it were before, Lu Chen might still be hesitant, but now that he has Dugu Shu behind him, it is not easy to kill a 6th grade martial saint. The atmosphere in the Lu family meeting hall was particularly solemn. Lu Chen also directly summoned the Lu family elders immediately. He wanted to see who was the damn worm who was causing harm to his Lu family. Lu Chen sat on the seat of the head of the family, staring at the elders in the hall with an indifferent expression, trying to catch something from their eyes, but most of these old people were people who had seen the world and could deal with anything calmly. Lu Chen speculated for a long time, but he caught a hint of panic in their eyes. At this time, Lu Chen said in an indifferent voice, Great Elder, why are you the only one who is late? Is it delayed because of something? Master, I'm old. I'm just sleepy, please be considerate. Lu Zhanwang replied calmly. No one could see anything strange about him. By the way, I wonder why the head of the family is so anxious to find us, second elder Lu Tianeng asked, stroking his gray beard. Why? Shouldn't I be asking you this? Lu Chen was furious. He jumped up and pointed at everyone and asked, who among you let Lu Wanqing run away? You old bastards, all of you, speak to me. Old bastard. The elders of the Lu family were very unhappy with Lu Chen's name. They are all Lu Chen's elders, it's really embarrassing to be called that. But now, their focus is not on the title. Instead, Lu Wanqing ran away. The air in the hall suddenly felt like death. At this moment, no one said anything, and each elder had his own agenda, wondering who helped Lu Wanqing escape. Although they also wanted to, they didn't dare. Lu Wanqing's crime in assassinating the head of the Lu family was heinous. It was considered a mercy not to kill her on the spot, but now someone among them actually let her go. You don't even speak? Or don't you dare to speak? Lu Chen's eyes flashed with gloom, filled with overwhelming murderous intent. Why is everyone going against him? He really couldn't understand what these idiots were thinking and insisted on pushing the Lu family into a pit of fire. Although Lu Wanqing was completely reduced to a useless person, her threat to Lu Chen was almost zero. But just letting her go like this always made Lu Chen's chest feel tight. Didn't he leave Lu Wanqing's life just to allow her to continuously provide destiny points? Now that the person has escaped, it is better to kill him directly. If he didn't vent his anger, Lu Chen felt that he would be pissed to death today. Okay, this is what you forced me to do, why don't you get out of here? The old slave is here. At the corner of the hall, a dark figure wrapped in black robes appeared like a ghost. Many elders looked at Dugu Zan in surprise, and they were horrified and said to themselves, when did he appear there? Why didn't you notice his presence? Wait, what did Lu Chen just call him? Dugu Shi. One word set off 1,000 waves. Could it be the rumored Miao Zhang Jiyu master Dugu Shi who poisoned the 7th grade martial emperor? Isn't he wanted by the General Administration of Martial Arts? Why did he appear in their Lu family? Also, Dugu Zan actually respectfully called himself, old slave. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what happened. The aura of death exuded from Dugu Zan's empty eyes made them tremble inwardly. Lu Zhanwang coughed dryly, stood up bravely and said, Master, why did this senior Dugu appear in my Lu family? Of course I'm here to kill you. I'll give you 10 seconds to let Lu Wanqing go and get out. I don't want to hurt innocent people. Lu Chen's eyes were about to burst and he could see that he was going crazy now. Lu Chen didn't give everyone time to react and started counting down directly. 10, 9, 1. Okay, it's really good. No one dares to admit it, right? Aren't you the most powerful GU master, Dugu Shu? Take out your soul-eating GU poison and let the elders of my Lu family taste it. Huh? Head of the family, we are the elders of the Lu family. We work hard even if we don't have any merit. What does it have to do with this if that girl Lu Wanqing runs away? Master, I disagree with what you are doing. Just because Lu Wanqing ran away, you vented your anger on us. This approach really chills us. Lu Chen didn't care so much. He wanted to show off to these old fools no matter what he said today. The terrifying aura escaped from Dugu Shu's body, and the overwhelming sense of oppression made everyone palpitate. Dugu Chu paused and said, Open your mouth, I know. There is no antidote for this soul-eating poison. Whether you can survive or not depends on your own luck. Everyone's throat was broken. Dugu Shu was famous and had used poison to kill the powerful Emperor Wu. If they drank the poison in Dugu Shu's hand, would they be killed on the spot? That's enough, Lu Chen. I let Lu Wanqing go. Don't embarrass the elders. Brother. Lu Zhanwang let out a long sigh and looked at Lu Chen with his turbid old eyes. Lu Chen looked sideways at Lu Zhanwang and sneered. I thought you weren't going to admit it today. You are really Lu Wanqing's good grandfather. In this case, the great elder, please die to apologize. Master, please calm down. Master, my eldest brother must have something to hide. Yes, brother Lu Zhanwang is the mainstay of my Lu family. The head of the family must not let anger go to his head. No kill. Okay, if you old immortals can catch Lu Wanqing before today, I will spare Lu Zhanwang. Otherwise, anyone who dares to plead for mercy will be killed without mercy. After Lu Chen put down his cruel words, everyone kept winking at Lu Zhanwang, wanting to know where Lu Wanqing was hiding. But Lu Zhanwang's dull old eyes closed directly. There was no chance for anyone to question Lu Wanqing's whereabouts. Even if he died, he would never reveal any information about Lu Wanqing. Brother, it's not worth it for Lu Wanqing. Brother, please tell us. Lu Wanqing is just an abandoned baby picked up by Lu Zhanyuan back then. Why do you favor her to such an extent? Seeing that Lu Zhanwang remained silent, everyone had no choice but to leave directly, searching for Lu Wanqing's whereabouts without any clue. As the eldest elder of the Lu family, Lu Zhanwang's prestige in the eyes of everyone is self-evident. Even if Lu Wanqing is killed, nothing can happen to Lu Zan. With the departure of the Lu elders, only Lu Chen, Lu Zhanwang, and Dugu Shu were left in the huge meeting hall. There was a terrible silence in the hall. Seeing the old man's calm expression, Lu Chen understood that it was impossible for those old immortals to capture Lu Wanqing. He gritted his teeth and whispered like a devil, "Don't kill him yet, Dugu Shu." Dugu Shu looked at Lu Chen behind him in shock. After a brief moment of surprise, he mobilized the powerful energy in his body. A claw mark surrounded by strange red light tore through the space, and the space was torn to pieces by the incomparable power. Yuan Hong's giant claws clawed at Lu Zhanwang's skinny chest. Blood spurted out from Lu Zhanwang's mouth, and his body fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. He looked down at his torn chest in disbelief. The sight of white bones was shocking. Lu Zhanwang never expected that Lu Chen would actually kill him. He is the highly respected elder of the Lu family. I thought Lu Chen would confine him for a few days at most, and at most he would lose some face. Who would have thought that Lu Chen actually wanted to kill him? Lu Zhanwang's body was stiff. His expression was sluggish, and heavy breathing came from his mouth. At this time, there was only a deep look of horror in his pupils, and there was nothing else. Master, but the eldest elder of the Lu family, you can't kill me. Lu Chen watched coldly, with no intention of letting Lu Zhanwang go. Today the King of Heaven is here. He also wanted to kill Lu Zhanwang. The Lu family and elders are all headed by Lu Zhanwang. As long as he is killed, the remaining people will have nothing to fear. I won't kill you. As the eldest elder of my Lu family, you are always shielding Lu Wanqing, a bastard who is cheating on you. What are your intentions? Lu Chen pulled out the drinking spring sword from its scabbard. The sword's light flashed and was shocking. Lu Chen's figure suddenly rushed out, and the Yinquan sword pierced Lu Zhanwang's chest directly. He pulled out the Yinquan sword suddenly, raised his hand and waved it, and a deep blood mark appeared on Lu Zhanwang's neck. Lu Zhanwang spit out turbid blood from the corner of his mouth. His heart was full of horror, and the remaining consciousness told him that he was going to die. Dugu Shu looked at Lu Zhanwang jokingly and said, Jia, treat the martial saint as nourishment. My Jiu insects will definitely like your flesh and blood. I saw that Dugu Shu raised his arm, and countless black spots appeared on the cuffs of his ink robe and under his trouser legs, and the entire ground was invaded densely by bloodworms. The delicious smell of blood filled the air, causing Dugu Zan's Jiu insects to rush towards Lu Zhanhuang like crazy. The Jiu worms penetrated Lu Zhanwang's mouth, nose, ears, and chest along the gaps. In just a few seconds, Lu Zhanwang's body was wrapped into a black hill by Jiu worms. Lu Zhanwang's wailing and hoarse screams could be heard from under the black shadow. The Jiu worms were biting his flesh and sucking his blood. Lu Zhanwang finally began to feel fear. His face turned ferocious under the Jiu worm, and the heart-piercing stinging sensation kept stimulating his nerves. After a few minutes, Lu Zhanwang's wailing could no longer be heard. Dugu Shu recalled the Jiu worm, and there was only a cold white skeleton left on the ground, as well as a pool of blood with a fishy smell. There was a hidden coldness in Lu Chen's eyes, and his anger subsided a little. Before, without Dugu Shu, Lu Chen really didn't dare to say anything. Even if they let Lu Wanqing go in front of him, he could only watch and swallow his bad breath. But things are different now. If you are looking for death, then die. Even without you, the Lu family will still not decline. Lu Chen clenched his palms slightly and fixed his eyes on the white bones. There was a sneer at the corner of his mouth, as if he came from the nine nether hell. From now on, anyone who dares to disrespect him will be killed without mercy. He was indeed too kind before. He was so kind that no one dared to look down upon him. Outside the meeting hall, heavy dark clouds were covering the sky and the earth was dim, just like Lu Chen's state of mind at this time, which was unpredictable. Dugu Shu frowned deeply. and stared at Lu Chen with eyes like hell lanterns under his black robe. This boy was much more ruthless than he thought, and he was really unambiguous in doing things. Late at night, many elders of the Lu family also returned to the Lu family. At this moment, they were worried and didn't know how to return their lives to Lu Chen. Trying to find Lu Waning in the huge city of Yanjing is like looking for a needle in a haystack. As long as Lu Chen can spare Lu Zhanwang's life, even if they kneel down and beg for mercy, there is no problem. But what they didn't know was that what was waiting for them was Lu Zhanwang's withered bones. After Lu Zhanwang died, the Lu family was completely controlled by Lu Chen. The news that Lu Chen had killed Lu Zhanwang, the eldest elder of the Lu family, spread like wildfire. The entire Lu family was panicked, and the major families in Yanjing were even more silent, not daring to say anything critical. After killing Lu Zhanwang, Lu Chen received 40,000 life points as a reward from the system as expected. Current destiny value: 500,000. After a brief hesitation, Lu Chen prepared to spend 300,000 life points to improve his cultivation. Lu Chen held his breath and concentrated. In a few breaths, his aura rose rapidly. When he opened his dark eyes, he had reached the level of 5th level martial lord. This process was as ordinary as flowing clouds and flowing water. Realm: early stage of 5th grade martial lord, current breakthrough requirement, 400,000. Time flies by like a white horse, and half a month flies by. In order to transfer a lot of energy to the Lu family, he also directly dropped out of the martial arts academy. Lu Chen didn't want to waste time in such boring places. However, it is worth mentioning that he received an invitation letter from Lingbao Pavilion today. Lu Chen looked down at the invitation in his hand and murmured to himself, Lingbao Pavilion is going to hold an auction. It seems that Chu Feng's big opportunity is coming again. According to the development of the plot, Chu Feng will rely on picking up a true Phoenix Jade pendant in this auction, and the Jade pendant contains a drop of true Phoenix essence and blood. After Chu Feng obtained this blood essence, his strength increased by leaps and bounds, and he even awakened the true Phoenix bloodline. Lu Chen touched his chin, his eyes drooling. I was really looking forward to it. Lingbao Pavilion is the largest auctioneer in the entire Dragon Kingdom. It can be said that it has everything from high-end elixirs, martial arts, and weapons, and it can be regarded as the most powerful force outside the 4 major families in Yanjing. Lingbao Pavilion suddenly announced the auction without any warning. This move made many people confused. As for what will be auctioned, Lingbao Pavilion even keeps it secret from the outside world. However, as a time traveler, Lu Chen naturally knew that Lingbao Pavilion wanted to auction off a cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf. In this world of high martial arts, the levels of monsters are divided into levels 1 to 9, corresponding to the realm of warriors. But in the same realm, Warcraft is almost invincible compared to warriors, and it is no exaggeration to say that it tortures warriors. An adult moon-eating demonic wolf can even reach the 7th level, which is comparable to the strength of a 7th level martial emperor. It seems that it will not be easy to buy the cub of this moon-eating demonic wolf. In the original plot, the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf was acquired by the Ling family of the 4 major families. The Ling family spared no resources and trained it to the 7th level. And this moon-eating demonic wolf was also the culprit who helped Chu Feng defeat the Lu family. But this is something that was briefly mentioned in the original work. The head of the Ling family died mysteriously the day after he photographed the moon-eating demon wolf cub. The Ling family naturally believed that it was his mortal enemy, the Lu family, who was behind this. So there is the following plot, where he cooperates with Chu Feng to destroy the Lu family. Lu Chen touched his chin and secretly guessed. Could it be that Lingbao Pavilion knew that someone was going to take action against the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf? And Lingbao Pavilion can't afford to provoke him? So you want to divert the trouble to the east and make a fortune at the same time? Otherwise, why would Lingbao Pavilion be willing to give away the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf? The head of the Ling family died mysteriously, and Lingbao Pavilion did not hesitate to auction off the moon-eating demon wolf cub. All these secretly pointed out that the cub was probably being targeted by someone. Lu Chen frowned and thought to himself, there is probably no more reasonable explanation than this. However, in Yanjing, besides the 4 major families, who has the ability to make Lingbao Pavilion fearful? A few days later, Lingbao Pavilion. Lu Chen arrived as promised, with Lu Jianan beside him inseparable. Everyone who recognized Lu Chen retreated and gave way to the Lingbao Pavilion, fearing that they would not be able to escape. Lu Chen is the youngest head of one of the 4 major families in Yanjing, and he is also known as the most evil genius in the Dragon Kingdom in the past 500 years. Today's Lu Chen is definitely not someone they can mess with. Looking at the dignitaries and nobles of Yanjing who were nodding and bowing to him around him, Lu Chen couldn't help but twitch an evil smile at the corners of his mouth. This is the respect that status brings him. After Lu Chen entered Lingbao Pavilion, a dark sea of people also poured into Lingbao Pavilion. There was still an hour left before the auction. In the splendid pavilion like a palace, the shadows of people are densely packed. Although there are huge crowds of people, the Lingbao Pavilion is silent. Most of the people who can appear here are the powerful people of Yanjing, and no one can be easily offended. Lingbao Pavilion is divided into VIP area and general area. The VIP area has 4 independent supreme boxes on the 2nd floor, facing the auction table, while the general area is in the main hall on the 1st floor. The supreme box is specially prepared for the 4 major families. Lu Chen's position was facing the auction stage, with a panoramic view of the scenery below. On both sides are the Ling family and the Su family. However, because the wall blocked the view, it was impossible to see who was inside. After Lu Chen sat down, he looked down the hall, but met a sharp and captivating look. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and said to himself, "It has only been a few days, but Chu Feng, the bedbug, has come out to jump around again." The anger was clearly visible in Chu Feng's eyes. If his master, Feng Zhu, hadn't rushed to Yanjing in person to heal his injuries, he would be a cold corpse now. Chu Feng was very curious as to what price Lu Chen paid to invite Dugu Zan to kill him. Likewise, Lu Chen had a wanton evil smile on his lips, and stared at Chu Feng with his gloomy eyes, his abyss-like eyes filled with a biting chill. What displeased Lu Chen the most was the 2 familiar figures beside Chu Feng. Sitting beside Chu Feng on the left was Yi Wuhai, and on the right was Qin Tian, the head of the Qin family. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with anger and evil spirit. He had warned the Qin family more than once to keep a distance from Chu Feng, but now the Qin family dared to blatantly stay with Chu Feng. It seems that there is no need for the Qin family to continue to exist. Lu Chen withdrew his eyes. He didn't want to disturb his mood because of Chu Feng's appearance. Fortunately, the person beside Chu Feng was not Feng Zhu. If that bitch was here, maybe something would happen. Then, under the gaze of countless eyes, the rickety old man dragged his body slowly onto the auction stage, and everyone's eyes became hot. Is this mysterious auction finally going to begin without any warning? When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but urge, "Wan Lao, please hurry up, we can't wait any longer." That's right. Many people shouted and cheered. The old man known as Wan Lao walked to the counter, tapped the table with a small hammer in his hand, and raised his fingers like dead branches to make a silent gesture. Shish. Everyone stopped urging and kept quiet. The rickety old man, known as Wan Lao, smiled slightly and said, "Lingbao Pavilion would be very grateful to you for taking the time to participate in this auction despite your busy schedule. Please be patient, the auction will start soon. I think today's the auction items will definitely satisfy you." Being so appeased by the old man, the audience was agitated. He secretly guessed what was so extraordinary about today's auction items that allowed Lingbao Pavilion to hold this auction in such a grand manner. However, many people don't expect to be able to take pictures of the final items. Most of them just want to pick up the missing items and make a lot of money. In full view of everyone, a sexy and long-legged girl wearing a slit cheongsam walked onto the stage. She held a jade plate in her bare hands. On the jade plate, there was a sword. The girl's slender white jade legs moved. I don't know how many people's eyes he attracted. The girl stopped beside Wan Lao. Wan Lao's hand like a dead branch took the sword and pulled out the long sword from the green scabbard. The 3-foot green blade came out of the sheath, and the sword body exuded luster like bluestone. Accompanied by the fierce sword energy, it seemed to tear apart the space. Tisk tisk. This sword has probably reached the level of a low-grade sword. It's truly a Lingbao Pavilion. The first item is so exciting. I don't know how exciting the next items will be. Many people in the audience were amazed. Wan Lao chuckled and said, "This sword is called Qingyun's sword. It is a low-grade earth-level sword. It was forged by the forging master Ji Yu using cold crystal cold iron. It is sharp enough to cut iron like mud. This is not the main thing. As you can see, the sword energy on the blade is vertical and horizontal. Wan Lao paused and continued, but do you know, I didn't activate any chi. As soon as Wan Lao said these words, the audience immediately exploded. Guu. The strongest blacksmith in our dragon kingdom, this sword actually came from his hands. That doesn't mean that this sword has its own sword energy, it really comes from Guu's hand. It seems that taking this sword won't be as easy as imagined. The small hammer in Wan Lao's hand fell gently, and a crisp sound echoed in the hall. His powerful voice rang out. The auction has begun. The base price is 50 million, and each increase will not be less than 5 million. I'll pay 50 million. How dare you bid for 50 million yuan, 200 million dragon coins. The bids were heard one after another, and Lu Chen swept the Qingyun sword in Wan Lao's hand with disdain. It was just a low-grade sword, not enough to catch his eyes. His target was the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf. After several rounds of price increases, the price of Qingyun's sword was also raised to 500 million dragon coins. In the end, after the small hammer in Wan Lao's hand fell gently, the transaction was completed at a price of 520 million dragon coins. Lu Chen couldn't show the slightest interest in this and looked at the venue coldly. In Lu Chen's eyes, most of the objects auctioned by Lingbao Pavilion were ordinary objects, and he couldn't even look down on them with his 1,000-year-old Lu family background. The auction is in full swing. The auction has reached a fever pitch. Under the expectant eyes of everyone, the graceful girl from the beginning walked onto the auction stage again. Wan Lao picked up the red Feng Luan jade pendant in the tray. The surface of the jade pendant exuded a hazy gleaming light. The texture was complex and difficult to describe. Wan Lao pretended to be mysterious and said, "This jade pendant is the penultimate piece in this auction. Auction items." Seeing that the audience was completely silent, Wan Lao stopped beating around the bush. "You may not know, but this jade pendant is carved from fire spirit stone. When worn by warriors, it can warm the spirit and nourish the soul, and increase the speed of cultivation." Before Wan Lao finished his introduction, someone in the audience said, "Wan Lao, please stop joking. The fire spirit stone is not a rare thing. This jade pendant is really not good enough to be used as the finale item." Wan Lao smiled helplessly and awkwardly. Although he did not know the use of this jade pendant, their treasure appraiser from Lingbao Pavilion judged that this jade pendant was absolutely extraordinary. But it's impossible to say for sure what its true purpose is. So he asked Wan Lao to put it up for auction. Seeing that everyone didn't buy it, Wan Lao shook his head helplessly. It seemed that this jade pendant was going to fail the auction. "Senior Wan Lao, I will pay 5 million. Below the main hall, Xu Feng raised the number plate in his hand and bid. Xu Feng looked intently at the Feng Luan jade pendant in Wan Lao's hand, his eyes blazing with heat. Because he practiced the fierce yang technique, he could clearly feel the powerful flame aura in the Feng Luan jade pendant. Xu Feng had a hunch that this jade pendant was absolutely extraordinary. The corner of Lu Chen's lips curled up, and he also raised the number plate in his hand. "I will pay 50 million. Xu Feng turned his head to look for the sound and saw Lu Chen looking at him teasingly, as if he was provoking him. Xu Feng secretly gritted his teeth and sarcastically said, "Lu Chen, you are still as petty as ever. You want to compete with me for even this ordinary jade pendant?" Lu Chen responded with a cold smile. "Why can't I bid? Doesn't the auction go to the highest bidder?" The corners of Xu Feng's mouth twitched slightly, and he looked at Yi Wuhai beside him and whispered, "Senior Yi, can you lend me some money? This phoenix jade pendant will be of great use to me." "Okay, but I can only get 1 billion dragon coins, no matter how much more," Yi Wuhai said with a confused look on his face. Although he is the younger brother of the head of the Yi family, his relationship with his brother is not very friendly, and he can't get much money out of him for a while. "Little friend Xu Feng, don't panic. Mr. Lu may not like this jade pendant at all. He just wants to raise the price for you. If you bid higher, he might give up," Qin Tian whispered in a low voice. Xu Feng nodded and continued to bid, 20 million dragon coins. 1 billion. Lu Chen said without hesitation. As soon as these words came out, there was a lot of discussion in the hall. How could this broken jade pendant be worth its price? Xu Feng gritted his teeth and looked at Lu Chen, wishing to cut him into pieces. The Lu family's heritage was really rich. Xu Feng stared blankly at the Feng Luan jade pendant without saying a word. He couldn't even imagine the price Lu Chen offered. Wan Lao on the stage was about to burst into laughter. He thought that the Phoenix Luan jade pendant would not be sold at auction, but he never expected that it could sell for a high price of 1 billion. Finally, after the small hammer in Wan Lao's hand fell, the Feng Luan jade pendant was also pocketed by Lu Chen. Ding! It's been detected that the host intercepted Chu Feng, the son of destiny. The plot has been significantly changed. The reward is 200,000 destiny points and the top grade heavenly skill, 9 heavens phoenix flame. Chu Feng lost the bloodline of the divine phoenix, and his luck dropped to 60%. Current destiny value: 400,000. Lu Chen secretly marveled that this time it actually reduced Chu Feng's luck value so much. This Feng Luan jade pendant is really not a mortal thing. 2 guards in armor carried an iron cage wrapped in red cloth from the bottom of the stage to the front. Wan Lao opened the red cloth, and everyone saw the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf waiting to be fed in the iron cage. It exploded instantly. When I asked why Lingbao Pavilion suddenly held an auction, it turned out that I wanted to throw away this hot thing. How do I say this? There has been a constant tide of beasts in the ancient ruins recently, don't you know? It's largely caused by the moon-eating demonic wolf clan. The moon-eating demonic wolf can be regarded as an overlord-level existence in the ancient ruins. It can make them so angry, unless this cub has the blood of the royal family. As soon as this statement came out, countless people became red-eyed. This cub is going to defy the heavens. Falling into any family, as long as they are cultivated, they will definitely become a powerful force in the future. It's just that the common man is not guilty, but he is guilty of carrying the jade. This cub of the moon-eating demon wolf is definitely not something that ordinary people can covet. If you bid randomly, you may be killed. The major families in Yanjing looked at the trembling little guy in the cage with eager eyes. The moon-eating demon wolf's hair was gray-white, with half a waning moon mark on its forehead, and its furry ears made people have an urge to step forward and pet them. At this moment, the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf was curled up with a painful expression on its face. Its blood-red eyes looked at the unfamiliar environment around it through the gaps in its hair. Woo! The moon-eating demonic wolf howled in fear. Wan Lao said attentively, "To be honest with you, this moon-eating demonic wolf cub has the blood of the royal family. Needless to say its value, right? The starting price of this cub is 0, and each increase in price will not be less than 5,000. Wan, the auction begins." Wan Lao's deep old eyes looked towards the second floor of the hall, where 4 figures were sitting quietly. Apart from the 4 major families in Yanjing, who would dare to covet this cub? Unless you want to be exterminated. A familiar voice came from the box on Lu Chen's left. In the box, Su Shengyu raised the number plate in his hand and said with a smile, "Su family, 20 billion. Su Shengyu shook his head slightly when he saw this. He just wanted to raise the price. He did not dare to bring this moon-eating demon wolf cub into the Su family. No matter which one of the 4 major families got the cub, they will all become the target of public criticism and be suppressed by the other 3 companies. The head of the Yi family, Yi Wusong, was not to be outdone and said, "The Yi family, 40 billion. The voice of Ling Yu, the head of the Ling family, came from the other side of Lu Chen. "My Ling family, 50 billion. Lu Chen touched his chin and thought for a long time. Although he didn't know how many people here were eyeing the cub, he still raised the number plate in his hand. "Lu family, 80 billion. To Lu Chen, money is just a string of numbers, and this is the cub of the moon-eating demon wolf. If you miss it, you will regret it. Master Lu is so courageous." Ling Yu gritted his teeth slightly and said, "Lu Chen, a brat like Lu Chen who doesn't know the world, doesn't treat money as money, does he?" "Master Ling, you're not bad either," Lu Chen sneered. Ling Yu clenched his palms slightly, a gloomy look flashed in his eyes, and continued. "Ling family, 85 billion. Smell the smell of gunpowder in the air." The people below the main hall did not dare to bid. "The Lu family, 100 billion. Lu Chen picked up the tea in his hand, sipped it gently, and said calmly. Ling Yu's eyes were splitting in an instant, and he smashed the table beside him with his palm. He sneered and said, "Master Lu, please give me this moon-eating demon wolf cub as a favor to me." Lu Chen put down the teacup in his hand and sneered. "What price do you offer if you don't have money? If you can't afford it, don't do it. Who do you think you are? I'm going to sell you face." Okay, great, madness will eventually come to an end. Master Lu, I hope you can continue to be mad, but don't die young. Really? Now I don't have to worry about it, Master Ling. Lu Chen suddenly stood up and walked forward, looking coldly at the dark figures below the hall, and said with a cold expression, I want to see if any of you have the guts to steal food from my Lu family today. In the main hall, the atmosphere was frozen to freezing point. Everyone was so silent that they didn't dare to take a big breath. As the head of the 4 major families, the Lu family's background is beyond their imagination. Not long ago, Lu Chen's father, Lu Zhanyuan, even broke through to the 7th level martial emperor. No one knows how much hidden strength the Lu family has behind them. All in all, provoking the Lu family is definitely digging your own grave. After Lu Chen said harsh words, the Yi family stopped bidding. The price was far beyond their budget, so they might as well sell it to Lu Chen to save face. As for Ling Yu, he could only swallow this bad breath alive. Ling Yu's valuation of the moon-eating demonic wolf was around 80 billion dragon coins, but Lu Chen didn't take money seriously at all, and the price was so high that he couldn't raise the price at all. Ling Yu could only watch helplessly as General Lu Chen patted the cub away. Wan Lao's eyes were filled with light. The price had already exceeded their imagination. He shouted impatiently, 100 billion once. 3 times 100 billion. After the small hammer in Wan Lao's hand fell, everything settled, and the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf also fell into Lu Chen's hands. He couldn't wait to tame the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf. This high-level monster, once recognized as its master, will never rebel for the rest of its life. But getting him to recognize his master may not be as simple as imagined. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside the box, and then a tall girl walked in. The girl's red lips were bright, her teeth opened slightly, and she said, Master Lu, please come with me. Your goods are now in Lingbao in the attic. Lu Chen looked at the girl holding the waistband tightly and followed her. Lu Jianan followed closely behind. In the attic of Lingbao Pavilion, the moon-eating demonic wolf cub curled up and shivered. It whined the moment it saw Lu Chen. This kind of high-level magical beast generally has extremely high intelligence, so it also knows very well what it is going to do, down fate. Lu Chen stretched out his palm, touched the furry head of the moon-eating demonic wolf, and said, Come with me, I will protect you from now on. In the iron cage, the moon-eating demon wolf bared its sharp fangs and backed away in fear. It had never been in contact with humans, so it was naturally very afraid of humans. Lu Chen retracted his palm and said to the attendant of Lingbao Pavilion behind him, Help me open the iron cage. Master Lu, this moon-eating demonic wolf has not recognized its master yet. If we open the iron cage and let it out now, something might happen unexpectedly, the girl said hesitantly. Even if I run away, I won't cause trouble to you in Lingbao Pavilion. Oh well. The girl took the key from her chest and then opened the iron cage. The moon-eating demon wolf rushed out of the iron cage, as fast as lightning. Fortunately, Lu Chen had quick eyes and quick hands. He directly pressed the moon-eating demon wolf to the ground, raised his right fist and hit the cub hard on the head. Superior. If you dare to run again, I'll break your legs. Lu Chen's eyes were sharp. He grabbed the moon-eating demonic wolf from the back, looked at its eyes like fire glass and threatened. After being beaten by Lu Chen, the little guy became much more at ease. Lu Chen's gaze shifted downwards and he said with a sigh, Tisk, tisk, he's still just a little she-wolf. Master Lu, this is your jade pendant, please keep it. Another Lingbao Pavilion attendant came behind him, holding a tray and offering the phoenix jade pendant with both hands. Lu Chen picked up the jade pendant and felt the hot burning sensation in his palm. He couldn't help but frown secretly. The moment he touched the jade pendant, the energy in his body seemed to become restless. The Feng Luan jade pendant is probably the most valuable item in this auction. In today's era, the true phoenix has long since become extinct. According to historical records, humans have not seen true phoenixes for thousands of years. The last time a true phoenix appeared was during a battle between the warrior gods 5,000 years ago. It has been so long that history has almost forgotten the existence of Zhenfeng. And this Phoenix Luan jade pendant actually contains a drop of true phoenix essence and blood. Its value is self-evident. It is no exaggeration to say that it is 10 times as powerful as the little she-wolf in Lu Chen's hand. Third Elder, let's go, Lu Chen said, holding the little female wolf with one hand. Lu Jianan saw Lu Chen carrying the moon-eating demonic wolf out of Lingbao Pavilion in such an ostentatious manner, and couldn't help but remind him. Master, are you taking the moon-eating demonic wolf out like this? It's too ostentatious. Swaggering? Our Lu family is a millennium-old family in the Dragon Kingdom. Why should we be afraid? Lu Chen's eyes narrowed and he said in a deep voice. Third Elder, you seem to have been at ease for too long, and you have become so hesitant to do something. Have I ever been afraid of anyone in the Lu family? If you come here, you will be killed without mercy. Lu Jianan looked at Lu Chen's retreating figure and quickened his pace to follow him. Maybe choose Lu Chen as the head of the Lu family. It was the most correct decision Lu Zhanwang had ever made. Seeing Lu Chen coming out of Lingbao Pavilion with the moon-eating demonic wolf, many people came forward to congratulate him. Lu Chen only responded coldly, don't give them any face at all. They are just flattering villains, and he does not want to deal with such people who follow the crowd. Back at the Lu family, Lu Chen bought some food that the moon-eating demon wolf liked from the system mall. At first, the little wolf cub looked like he would not give in even if he was beaten to death, but then his stomach growled with hunger, so he finally bought the food. Ken bowed his head to Lu Chen. Lu Chen looked at the little wolf cub and said, seeing as you look like a dog, why not call you Greyhound? The little wolf cub raised its little head and whined at Lu Chen, obviously dissatisfied with what Lu Chen called it. What, you're not satisfied? How about I call you Wangkai? Ooh. Then let's call you Grey Cub. Seeing how gray you are, it suits you well. The little wolf cub raised his head, then quickly lowered it, continuing to taste the roast leg of lamb that Lu Shen gave him. It was born in ancient ruins. Where has it ever tasted such delicious food? It seems like a new world has opened up in an instant. Seeing how greedy the gray cub was, Lu Chen smiled helplessly and reached out to touch its little head. I thought it would be so difficult to tame. Turns out he was just a foodie. However, the Lu family is destined not to spend the night peacefully. The mysterious man hiding in the dark and coveting the gray cub should take action. The night was thick, the sky was dim, and the boundless darkness and cold enveloped the Lu family like death. Under the dark night, two figures shuttled through the dense forest like ghosts, approaching the Lu family's villa. A man and a woman, both dressed in black night clothes, with black veils covering their faces. They restrained their auras and almost blended into the dark night. In the distance, Lu Chen's eyes were cold. He was hiding in the dark, looking at the two people's outfits and guessing their identities. But after thinking about it for a long time, I didn't have any clue. But what Lu Chen dared to be sure of was, now that you're here, don't even think about leaving. A beam of fire rose into the sky, illuminating the silent night. Dozens of figures appeared like ghosts, rippling with astonishing zhenqi fluctuations, and even the space around their bodies became distorted. He Fangxiao, a little guy, dares to break into my Lu family. Lu Jianan shouted loudly, and the martial saint's aura swept towards the two figures in black. Facing Lu Jianan's violent shouting, the two black figures looked around in surprise. About a dozen powerful and terrifying martial saint auras had already surrounded them. Oops! We've been discovered. Xiao Yu, retreat quickly. Brother Xiaoyan, you go first, I'll help you stop them. I want to run, but it's too late. Lu Jianan was the first to strike out with a palm, tearing apart the space with a devastating palm technique and striking hard at the bodies of the two of them. Seeing that Lu Jianan had already taken action, the Lu family elders followed closely and launched a fierce attack on the two of them. The man in black, known as Xiao Yan, clenched his palm suddenly. The spear with a majestic and sharp aura appeared in his palm, and the true energy surged, directly turning into an overwhelming shadow of sharp spears, stabbing at the figures of the elders of the Lu family, the cold light on the tip of the spear, shocking. Lu Jianan's cloudy old eyes flashed with a look of surprise. No wonder he dared to break into the Lu family without permission. It turned out to be a strong man who was also in the martial saint realm. However, a mere martial saint dared to break into the Lu family without permission. It's simply courting death. Lu Jianan and others struck out with a palm, and the unrivaled power directly shattered the illusory spear shadow. Immediately after Lu Jianan changed his hand seals, a sharp sword shadow appeared from behind him. The bright sword light cut through the air, as if even the space could be torn apart by it. The sword shadow was sharp and it shot towards the man in black as fast as lightning. Sensing Lu Jianan's fierce offensive, The man in black named Xiao Yan did not dare to show any signs of neglect and held the spear across his chest. The illusory sword shadow collided fiercely with the spear, making a crisp collision sound, and sporadic sparks flew and scattered all over the place. At this moment, the veins on Xiao Yan's neck popped out. The huge bombardment made his arms numb, and the sharp sword energy cut blood marks one after another on his chest. The attacks of the elders of the Lu family were too strong and intensive, and he could only adopt a defensive posture. The majestic Zhenqi bombarded his body, and a mouthful of fishy sweetness overflowed from his mouth. Ah! Xiao Yan roared violently without flinching at all. The black spear in his hand erupted with astonishing fluctuations, shattering the phantom sword shadow. Puff! However, a mouthful of turbid blood spurted out from Xiao Yan's mouth. Under the dim night, although he looked down on his sluggish look, Lu Waning could guess from his weak aura that the man in black in front of him would not last long. "Brother Xiaoyan, let me help you." The girl wearing a black veil spoke with a slightly anxious voice in the dim darkness. Then, a sword energy shot out from her hand, and Elder Lu dodged to avoid it, accompanied by the rumble of the giant tree falling to the ground behind him. Xiao Yu and Xiao Yan pressed against each other's backs, mobilizing their inner energy to form a defensive posture. But her defense was not enough in the eyes of many elders of the Lu family. In just a few breaths, it was disintegrated. Xiao Yu's face was pale and weak, and she could hardly hold the hilt of the sword with her bare hands. She could clearly feel Xiao Yan's violently shaking body behind her. Xiao Yan's elder brother was probably unable to hold on anymore. Elder Lu's eyes were filled with coldness. An astonishing sword energy broke through the defenses of the two men and penetrated the calf of the man in black. Ah! Heart-rending screams echoed through the dark woods. Outside the Lu family villa, Lu Waning threw the two men, who were breathing weakly, at Lu Chen's feet and said angrily, "Master, as you expected, someone is really bold enough to break into the Lu family and assassinate them." At this moment, Xiao Yu looked depressed, and Xiao Yan even fainted. Lu Chen's abyss-like eyes were filled with a biting coldness. He knelt down and took off the black veil covering Xiao Yu's face. Under the illumination of the light, the woman's appearance was fully revealed. Her fair snow face is gentle and soft, her petite nose is covered with a pair of quiet, watery eyes, and her proud figure is vividly outlined in a black tights. At this moment, the woman was biting her teeth and looking at Lu Chen with hatred. Lu Chen stood up and looked at the strange two people in front of him. He had never seen them before. Lu Chen asked expressionlessly, "What's your name? Why do you want to kill me?" Xiao Yu's chest rose and fell, and she spat softly. "Bah, I'm going to kill you, the thief." Lu Chen smiled coldly and took out the Yinquan sword from its sheath. He raised the sword in his hand with cold eyes. Under Xiao Yu's gaze, one of Xiao Yan's arms was cut off by Lu Chen. Xiao Yu bit her red lips with her teeth, her eyes filled with panic. Lu Chensen smiled coldly, put the tip of the drinking spring sword against Xiao Yu's snow-white chin, and said jokingly, "Can you tell me now, if you don't want to see him die?" "No. Don't kill him, I tell you everything." Looking at Xiao Yan dripping with blood, Xiao Yu couldn't help crying softly, and tears overflowed from her quiet and glistening eyes. Lu Chen whispered in Xiao Yu's ear like a demon, "Is this right? Tell me everything you know, and maybe I will be merciful and let you live. My name is Lin Yu, and he is my brother Lin Yan. We're here for the cub of the demon wolf that bites the moon. You should know this." Xiao Yu raised her head, looked into Lu Chen's eyes and said. Lu Chen smiled coldly, and then Xiao Yan's other arm was cut off by Lu Chen. "I hate people who lie. If he dares to deceive me again, I won't just cut off his arm." Looking into Lu Chen's eyes, Xiao Yu felt that everything was exposed. She replied hesitantly, "Actually, my name is Xiao Yu, his name is Xiao Yan." Hearing this, Lu Chen laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha, your name is Xiao Yu, and his name is Xiao Yan. He turns out to be a remnant of the Xiao family." "Ah, no, we are not the remnants of the Xiao family." Xiao Yu's voice trembled slightly, as if a secret hidden deep in her heart had been discovered, and she no longer thought about it when she spoke. 20 years ago, the Qin family had not yet encountered the annihilation of the family. The Lu, Ling, Su, Qin, and Yi families are tied for the 5 major families in Yanjing, and the Xiao family is the most powerful family outside these 5 families, and its strength is even vaguely comparable to the lowest among the 5 families. But after the Qin family was brutally massacred, the 5 major families in Yanjing have also become 4 major families. At this time, the Shao family began to make moves. Want to join the new 5 major families? Naturally, the Lu family, Ling family, Su family, and Yi family would not allow this to happen. After finally destroying a rival, the Shao family wants to show up again. Then there was the tragedy of the Shao family being wiped out. Later, the remaining members of the Shao family went into hiding and were not seen for 20 years. Since the person in front of him turned out to be a remnant of the Shao family, everything made sense. No wonder that in the original plot, after the head of the Ling family, Ling Yu, was killed, the moon-eating demon wolf was not captured by him. Their goal was not the moon-eating demon wolf at all. But, in order to provoke conflicts among the 4 major families in Yanjing, thus breaking the cooperative relationship between the 4 major families. Xiao Yu looked at Lu Chen and lightly opened her red lips and said, "Since you already know our secret, should you keep your promise and let us go?" "Let? When did I say I would let you go?" Lu Chen said with a stern expression, as if he was not joking. "You, as the head of the Lu family, how can you not keep your word?" Lu Chen smiled. He just said it was possible, but Lu Chen couldn't be merciful to someone who wanted to kill him. "Dugu Shi. The old slave is here." As Lu Chen called out softly, Dugu Shu appeared in everyone's eyes. The terrifying aura emanating from the old man made everyone speechless. Xiao Yu's narrow beautiful eyes looked at the old man whose face was covered by black robe, and she was frightened. Dugu Shu was famous, so she naturally knew his name. But she didn't understand, when did the Lu family take Dugu Shu into their employ? "Senior Dugu, please take their bodies to the Ling family, and help me kill that old bastard Ling Yu." Dugu Shu raised his gloomy old eyes and quickly understood Lu Chen's intention. He paused slightly and said, "I know what to do." In Xiao Yu's horrified eyes, Dugu Shu completely wiped out the lives of the 2 of them. Harmony. Lu Chen raised his head and murmured softly, "In this way, the Shao family will not cause trouble to me for the time being, and the Shao family will also bear the anger from the Ling family, so it will be a dog-eat-dog drama." Lu Chen's plan was to have Dugu Shu kill Ling Yu and then dump the bodies of Shao and Yu at the Ling family. In this way, no one will connect the deaths of the 3 people. It is natural to think that the Shao family came back to take revenge on the Ling family, but Ling Yu was defeated and eventually died together with the Shao family's assassins. "Master, since the assassin has been killed, we will step aside for now," Mr. Lu said respectfully. From the moment Lu Chen killed Lu Zhanwang, they had already seen how terrifying Lu Chen was. Now in front of Lu Chen, I don't dare to be disrespectful in any way. Elders, don't leave in a hurry, the matter is not over yet. "Master, may I ask where else we can be used?" Lu Chen's eyes dimmed, and he whispered like a devil. "The moon is dark and the wind is high, it's a murderous night, follow me and destroy the Qin family tonight." It was approaching early morning, and the moon, which had escaped the darkness of the clouds, was bright and clear. Its elegant light shone on the bricks and tiles of the Qin family's mansion, as if covered with a layer of noble white gauze. However, the Qin family was eerily silent at the moment. In the courtyard, corpses were stacked randomly one after another, and the blood-red liquid was flowing. The only thing that could be heard in the huge Qin family was the sobbing of the little daughter, who was as thin as a mosquito. Lu Chen looked at Qin Muyan, who was kneeling in front of him with stern eyes. Behind him were dozens of powerful martial saints surrounding him. People dare not look up to Lu Chen's existence. Qin Muyan looked at Qin Hao lying in front of her in horror, and did not even dare to raise her head to look into Lu Chen's eyes. Her hands were still clutching the hem of her skirt, and you could see how desperate she was at the moment. Her father died in front of her eyes. He was besieged by dozens of elders of the Lu family and was killed to pieces in an instant. The horrific scene lingered in her mind and brought her to the verge of mental collapse. Qin Hao's face was even more pale, without any color at all. He had already broken an arm because of Lu Chen, and just now he had 2 legs broken by Lu Chen. Seeing Lu Chen approaching step by step, his face was full of pain and despair, and he could only collapse on the ground helpless and furious. Lu Chen is a devil. He ordered the Lu family to kill all the warriors of the Qin family, including their father Qin Tian, and Qin Juge, the eldest elder of the Qin family. Only the two siblings were left until the end to witness all this with their own eyes. Lu Chen slowly narrowed his eyes and said, "Qin Muyan, don't blame me. If not, blame your stupid father for ignoring my warning and getting so close to Chu Feng. This is your Qin family's own suicide." Qin Muyan bit her red lips with her white teeth and slowly raised her misty eyes. She said without any hope, "What do Lu Chen want from me so that you can let me and Qin Hao go? As long as you are willing to let us go, I will do anything for you. Even if it's your..." Qin Muyan's eyes were cold and tears of humiliation were shed from the corners of her eyes. Her innocence was taken away by Lu Chen, and now Lu Chen actually wants to kill her. Obviously Lu Chen was not like this in the past. Why did he become like this and become so strange to her? Lu Chen walked forward leisurely, stepped on Qin Hao's chest, and said with a gloomy look, "Qin Muyan, you are really as despicable as ever. Let's do this. You help me kill Qin Hao, and I will let you go. How about leaving?" Qin Hao's eyes widened at Lu Chen's feet, and he looked at Qin Muyan with fear in his eyes, praying that his sister would not be brainwashed by Lu Chen. Qin Hao's voice was trembling. "No, no sister, don't kill me. He is still young and he doesn't want to die." Qin Muyan lowered his head and hesitated briefly. Snow White Catkin pulled out the 3-foot-long sword from the scabbard and gritted her teeth slightly. Lu Chen, this devil, actually asked her to kill Qin Hao. But she couldn't do it at all. Qin Hao was her biological brother. Qin Muyan did not raise her head, and said in a moment of confusion, "Lu Chen, can't you really let us live? What do you think?" Qin Muyan slowly tightened her grip on the sword, her eyes filled with coldness. She suddenly raised the sword in her hand, revealing her white wrist. The silver sword in her hand also stabbed Lu Chen's chest. Qin Muyan's eyes became vicious. She knew very well that even if she killed Qin Hao, Lu Chen would not let her go. Since death is inevitable anyway, it's better to kill Lu Chen directly. "Go to hell together." Lu Chen smiled jokingly, as if he had already anticipated Qin Muyan's trick. The Yinquan sword came out of its sheath, and a sharp green sword light pierced the space. A bloodstain appeared on Qin Muyan's snow-white swan neck, the 3-foot-long sword slipped from her white catkin, and her jade-like eyes completely lost their life. "Lu Chen, don't kill me." Seeing Qin Muyan die in front of his eyes, Qin Hao's eyes almost popped out, and he said in horror. Lu Chensen looked coldly at the pitiful bedbugs on the ground, and then turned around. Qin Hao begged for mercy in panic, thinking that Lu Chen was going to let him go, but there was a cramp in his heart. His body twitched several times, and he slept with Qin Muyan under the boundless moonlight. A dragon soul needle filled with astonishing energy flew out of Qin Hao's chest and returned to Lu Chen's hand. Originally, this dragon soul needle was intended to be used against Chu Feng. But with his current strength, he doesn't even bother to use this method. Ding! If it is detected that the host slaughters the Qin family, the reward will be 200,000 life points. Current destiny value: 600,000. After returning to the Lu family, Lu Chen took out the Feng Luan jade pendant from the system space, held it tightly in his palm, and with a sudden force, he heard a crisp cracking sound, and the jade pendant shattered into powder. Lu Chen opened his palms, and powder fell like fine sand from the cracks in his fingers. A drop of pure blood was suspended in his palm. The blood drop exuded a violent aura, illuminating the entire room with a crimson color. The phoenix essence and blood ignited with raging flames, and its destructive power seemed to be able to burn everything in the world. Lu Chen stared at the phoenix essence and blood in his hand, and without any hesitation, he directly swallowed this drop of pure blood into his mouth. Lu Chen held his breath and concentrated, the crisp sound of the phoenix echoing in his heart. A hot breath of fire exploded from his chest, and it seemed that even the true energy in his body was about to be burned out. Hot sweat began to appear on his forehead, and the drop of true phoenix essence and blood in his body transformed into a divine phoenix burning with flames. As his wings flapped, a flaming wind swept towards Lu Chen's meridians. The violent flames caused the blood in Lu Chen's body to swell. They all boiled violently. The temperature of the entire room rose sharply. Even space becomes distorted. Although this is just a drop of essence and blood, it still retains spiritual thoughts. The Phoenix clan prides themselves on being noble and will never allow their sacred blood to be tarnished. Even the phoenix transformed by a drop of blood essence still retains such regrets. Fortunately, This drop of phoenix true blood has been dormant for thousands of years, and its remaining power is no longer 1/10 of what it once was. Otherwise, Lu Chen's strength would never be enough to refine it. It will even burn to ashes under its blazing flames. Lu Chen gritted his teeth. The phoenix transformed from this drop of blood in his meridians seemed to be going crazy and struck his meridians. The loud sound of the phoenix's cry resounded throughout the world and impacted Lu Chen's consciousness. Lu Chen let out a low roar and mobilized the powerful energy in his body to resist the unstoppable flame attack. This is a mere remnant soul, suppress it. About half an hour later, Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes. His eyes, as deep as the abyss, actually burned with a touch of abyssal red. The bloodline of this phoenix was too overbearing. Fortunately, its power had passed by for thousands of years, which gave Lu Chen an opportunity to refine it. As the blood of the phoenix was integrated into Lu Chen's blood bit by bit, Lu Chen's pale complexion gradually began to improve, and his color returned. Lu Chen gently exhaled a breath of turbid air, feeling the violent energy in his body, and murmured to himself with lowered eyes. Is this the breakthrough to the late stage of Wu Zun? It is indeed the essence and blood of the phoenix that has broken through two small realms one after another. I should be able to kill Chu Feng easily now, right? In the original work, Chu Feng relied on this drop of phoenix essence and blood to awaken the divine phoenix bloodline. I don't know if I have awakened. Lu Chen's thoughts moved slightly, and the system panel in front of him appeared. His information appeared in the changing light and shadow. Lu Chen's eyes were fixed on the last frame. Power of blood, Phoenix bloodline. Phoenix bloodline. Immune to all fire damage, the overbearing firepower is enough to burn all life in the world. Realm. In the late stage of the 5th grade martial lord, the current breakthrough requires 600,000 destiny points. By the way, system, I remember that there is also a martial arts book, 9 Heavens Phoenix Flame, in the system backpack, right? Yes, host. Help me cultivate directly to Zochin. Okay, host. Ding, the 9 Heavens Phoenix Flame has been cultivated to great perfection. There was a cold mechanical sound in his mind, and Lu Chen fell into a contented sleep. In the early morning, the warm morning light shone on the side of Lu Chen's face. Lu Chen opened his eyes and felt a faint sense of pain in his body. He rubbed his still aching head. Last night, in order to refine that drop of phoenix essence and blood, his body was almost hollowed out. Today, the entire Yanjing is shrouded in fear. The head of the Ling family died in an assassination, and died together with the assassin. The identity of the assassin is currently under investigation. What is even more frightening is that the Qin family was brutally wiped out overnight. The last time the Qin family was massacred was 20 years ago. After being wiped out twice, what kind of enemies did the Qin family provoke? The wealthy nobles in Yanjing are also speculating. Could it be that the enemies of the Qin family came to visit them again? Lu Chen stood up and straightened his clothes when his door suddenly opened. An eccentric girl poked her head and looked into the room. She wore no makeup, her skin was as white as snow jade, and she was dressed in a black dress, just like the clear lotus growing in the valley. The little girl is suddenly Su Beizi. Brother Lu Chen. Did you just wake up? Did I disturb your sleep? Su Beizi apologized softly like a child who had done something wrong. A smile appeared on Lu Chen's lips, and he said softly, "Bai Ji, why are you here? I'm a little worried about you, so I just wanted to come and see you." Su Beizi expressed her intention. Worried about me? What do I have to worry about? Su Beizi stood by the door with her head lowered and muttered, "Brother Lu Chen, you may not know that the Qin family was wiped out last night, and even Qin Muyan died." Su Beizi raised her glass-like eyes and looked at Lu Chen worriedly. She was so afraid that Lu Chen would do something stupid for Qin Muyan. Lu Chen was slightly shocked. It turned out that Su Beizi came here just for such a trivial matter. She thought something big had happened. She was such a cute and silly girl. Lu Chen looked slightly surprised and said, "Bai Ji, are you kidding me? The Qin family was wiped out? Well, brother Lu Chen, please don't be sad. I believe you will meet a better girl than Qin Muyan in the future." Su Beizi raised her pink fist, and the black sleeves inlaid with gold threads slid down her lotus-rooted arms, revealing her snow-white wrists, cheering Lu Chen on. In her mind, Lu Chen's love for Qin Muyan has long been terminal. The Qin family was exterminated inexplicably, and Qin Muyan died. She was worried that Lu Chen would do something unbelievable. After Lu Chen was briefly surprised, he joked, "By gee, you may not know that I have actually met a girl who is 10,000 times better than Qin Muyan." Su Beizi's star-like eyes flashed slightly, feeling extremely disappointed. It turns out that brother Lu Chen has already met the girl he likes. Lu Chen stepped forward, touched Su Beizi's little head, and said softly, "That girl is you, silly girl." Ah! Suddenly, a blush spread from Su Beizi's fair neck to her snowy face, and she said coquettishly, "Brother Lu Chen. You. What are you talking about? If you talk nonsense again, I will get angry. It's a shame I was worried about you this morning, and you still made fun of me." "Huh, I'm ignoring you." Su Beizi folded her arms across her chest, her small breasts beginning to take shape and rising and falling slightly. Lu Chen's sweet words made her instantly at a loss. Lu Chen smiled and said nothing. "A girl blushing for you is worth 1,000 words. By the way, I heard from Grandpa that you bought a cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf from the auction. Can I take a look?" Su Beizi was the first to break the silence. "Of course, Grey Cub, come quickly, there's a leg of lamb to eat." After Lu Chen finished speaking, a gray wolf cub ran to Lu Chen's feet as fast as lightning and circled around Lu Chen's feet, wagging its tail non-stop. Su Beizi exclaimed, "Wow, it's so cute, can I touch it?" Without waiting for Lu Chen to answer, Su Beizi directly hugged the gray cub to her chest and stroked it gently. As expected, the little girl's wishes were easily satisfied. Maybe only when he is alone with Su Beizi. At this time, Lu Chen could have no worries and let down his guard. After Su Beizi left, Lu Chen said with a gloomy look, "Dugu Zan, I asked you to investigate Chu Feng's movements. How is the investigation going? I speculate that Chu Feng should have left Yanjing by now, otherwise it would be impossible for my GU to not detect his aura." Dugu Shu's dark eyes exuded a strange light, and his voice was hoarse. Lu Chen said nothing, frowning and thinking about something. Chu Feng's escape from Yanjing was also within his expectation. The Qin family was wiped out, and no matter how stupid Chu Feng was, he should be able to guess that it was Lu Chen who did it. Next, Chu Feng should go to the ancient ruins to practice. It seemed that Lu Chen had to leave the Lu family and go to the ancient ruins to find his opportunity. Currently, in Yanjing, there is no other family that can challenge the Lu family's status except the Ling family. However, the head of the Ling family, Ling Yu, was killed in the hands of Dugu Shu. The Ling family was so anxious to find the murderer that they couldn't find the energy to target the Lu family for a while. However, the remnants of the Shao family are still a variable. It seemed that before Lu Chen left the Lu family, it was necessary to invite that person out. Lu family, Hidden Sword Pavilion. The fallen leaves outside the Hidden Sword Pavilion were covered with the entire path, and the ancient atmosphere hit the face. The autumn wind swept by, and the fallen leaves were flying. This winding path leading to the Hidden Sword Pavilion had not been cleaned for an unknown period of time. Lu Chen pushed open the door of the Hidden Sword Pavilion, and the smell of rust overflowed into his nose. But unlike the outside of the Hidden Sword Pavilion, there was no trace of dirt inside the pavilion, and it was cleaned very neatly. One after another, 3-foot-long swords with sharp edges were arranged neatly, and the sword light flickered, making the entire sword pavilion filled with sharp sword energy. Lu Chen's eyes fell on the old man who lowered his head to sweep the ground. The old man held a broom in his hand and ignored Lu Chen and continued his work. The old man didn't notice Lu Chen until Lu Chen came closer. The old man's turbid eyes looked at Lu Chen in surprise and said, "Who are you? Why do you come to my Hidden Sword Pavilion?" "Master Jian, don't you remember me? I'm Lu Chen. You hugged me when I was a child." Lu Chen started to get close to me as soon as he came up. The old man was slightly stunned. He couldn't remember how long it had been since no one called him Master Jian. It seemed that even he himself was about to forget the name of Master Jian. "I'm sorry for my blindness, but I didn't recognize you, my master." He looked at Lu Chen again and said apologetically, "I wonder why you came here, master?" Master Jian put down the broom in his hand and asked Lu Chen patiently. "Master Jian, I want to leave the Lu family and go to the ancient ruins to gain experience, so I came here this time to ask you to take charge of the Lu family for me during my absence." Lu Chen didn't mince words and directly stated his intention. One of Lu Chen's purposes is to bring this hidden sword master to life. Master Jian was slightly startled. He smoothed his gray beard with his rough palms and said with a playful smile, "The master of the house really thinks highly of me. How can I, a bad old man, be in charge of the Lu family for you? You are not a bad old man, but the ancient sword god who once ignited the 19 states with your sword and conquered the world with your sword. Apart from you, I dare not entrust the Lu family to anyone." Lu Chen's eyes narrowed slightly and he said seriously, "Ha ha ha, ancient sword god. Did the head of the family make a mistake? If I were the ancient sword god, how could I devote myself to cleaning this sword pavilion for 50 years? Master Jian raised his head and laughed wildly, pointing his finger at Lu Chen, his bright head shaking continuously. Lu Chen frowned and said in confusion, "Swordmaster, what about the neon in your hand and the joy in your eyes? You once killed evil with one sword and drove back millions of monsters. Why are you so wasting your swordsmanship now? What's the use of a sword? It's just a sharp weapon for killing people. It doesn't matter if you don't use it." Master Jian asked sadly, his eyes visibly dim. "A murderous weapon? Since Lord Sword, you hate swords so much, why did you still guard the hidden sword pavilion for the Lu family for 50 years and waste your time here? It's just a sustenance. It doesn't matter if you don't say it, it doesn't matter if you don't say it. Master, if you have nothing else to do, please don't send me far away. I will continue to clean this huge sword pavilion. Although I don't know why you abandoned the sword, Mr. Jian, but what I want to say is that the sword is not only a weapon for killing people, but also a magic weapon to protect the common people. It only depends on the heart of the user." Lu Chen felt unwilling and didn't understand. The old man in front of him clearly has unparalleled swordsmanship, but he has abandoned the sword for 50 years. From that young man who was happy with revenge to the old man who doesn't care about worldly affairs, what made him sink to such an extent? Lu Chen was silent for a while and then continued to ask, "Master Jian, are you denying the sword in Zhang Jin's hand, or the person who once held the sword?" Lu Chen's words made Master Jian stunned for a moment. He lowered his head and did not answer Lu Chen. He continued to clean as if he did not hear Lu Chen's question. "Master Jian, if the Lu family suffers a disaster, you won't stand idly by and watch, right?" Master Jian still didn't reply, but Lu Chen knew that Master Jian would not stand idly by. In the original work, when Chu Feng broke through the realm of Emperor Wu and entered the Lu family to prepare for revenge, when the Lu family's life and death were at stake, the old man slashed the sky with his sword and knocked back Chu Feng. In front of him, Chu Feng didn't even have the strength to resist. But Master Jian did not kill Chu Feng, because he had already put down the sword in his hand. That killing sword. Lu Chen raised his eyes and sighed. "Since Mr. Sword, you don't want to be born, I won't force you to do it. It's just that I came here to take away the divine sword. I hope you can agree. If you want it, just take it. The Xuanyuan sword belongs to your Lu family, why do you want to tell me?" Master Jian is not a member of the Lu family, but a person who guards the sword for the Lu family. With Master Jian's acquiescence, Lu Chen walked up to the attic of Zhang. He pushed open the pavilion containing the Xuanyuan sword, slowly approached, held the sword in his hand, and began to inspect it. The body of the Xuanyuan sword is engraved with the sun, moon and stars, and the hilt is engraved with a lifelike golden dragon. The sword body is glowing with a sharp cold light. The power of the divine sword is shocking. This Xuanyuan sword was the imperial sword used by a certain human warrior god to slay demons. It is a pity that time has passed, and the martial god who revitalized the human race has long since turned into the dust of history, but this divine sword has not. Instead, it has been passed down by generations of successors. The Lu family obtained this divine sword 300 years ago, but it is so powerful that only Master Jian can control it to this day. But after Master Jian's Taoist heart was damaged, the Xuanyuan sword was always stored in the sword pavilion and was never used again. Although the original work never mentions Master Jian's strength, but according to Lu Chen's estimation, the current Master Jian is at least as strong as an 8th-level martial arts demigod. Unfortunately, Mr. Jian was too paranoid about swords and was never willing to hold the sword again. Lu Chen put the Xuanyuan sword into its scabbard and stored it in the system space. If we say that the highest level of weapons in the world's knowledge is the heaven level, then this Xuanyuan sword even broke through the heaven level. Otherwise, he wouldn't be called a magic weapon. Master Jian, I'm leaving. I'll see you again in the future. I hope you can get rid of the shackles of the past and hold the sword in your hand again. Lu Chen walked down from the attic, looked at the old man who was lowering his head to clean, and blurted out. Let's go, don't continue to be a hindrance here and disturb my retreat. After Lu Chen left, Master Jian put down his broom in loneliness, and the past appeared in front of him like a cloud of smoke. He blamed himself guiltily. I can save the world, but I can't save the one I love. I once shouldered the mission of saving the common people. And how could she not be a common person? You, heaven, why do you want to do so with me? What's the use of a sword to me? What's the use? The sound of sadness and silence echoed in the sword pavilion, and the long swords buzzed, as if there was some kind of resonance. A drop of turbid tears slowly slid down the bridge of Master Jian's nose. The endless annoyance and regret turned into those tears of lovesickness. Even if he holds the 3-foot green blade again, can she come back? How is the head of the family? Has he agreed to be born? Lu Jianan waited respectfully outside the sword pavilion, and when he saw Lu Chen coming out, he impatiently stepped forward and asked. Lu Chen shook his head and said, No, but based on my understanding of Mr. Jian, it is impossible for him to ignore my Lu family. During the time when I am away, third elder, the Lu family will be left to you. If anything happens, if something unexpected happens, you can seek help from Master Jian. Lu Jianan's eyes flickered slightly and said, Master, please rest assured that I will definitely take care of the Lu family in order. Lu Chen smiled faintly. He still trusted Lu Jianan. The most loyal person in the Lu family to him was the old boy Lu Jianan. Chu Feng, just wait, you can't escape from the palm of my hand. Even if you run to the end of the world, I will find you and kill you, you bastard. The sun was setting, and the shadows of one person and one wolf were still very long. Outside the city of Yanjing, Lu Chen saw a familiar figure. He smiled and said, Didn't Dugu Shu tell you not to follow me? Do you think I want to follow you? If you didn't control my life, I would wish to stay away from you. Dugu Zan's eyes flashed with a faint light, and he said extremely dissatisfied. Dugixu is a person who cherishes his life very much. He will even sell everything to save his life. And Lu Chen is now connected to his life, and both suffer losses, and both prosper and prosper. Even if he knew that Lu Chen's so-called heart-piercing soul-eating Jiu connected their lives, it was most likely deceiving him. But Dugixu didn't have the courage to gamble, when he learned that Lu Chen was going to the ancient ruins. He even wanted to slap Lu Chen to death. The ancient ruins are infested with poisonous insects and ferocious beasts are rampant. Even he himself can't guarantee that he can come out of the ancient ruins alive, let alone this kid Lu Chen. I really don't know how high the sky is. Therefore, Dugu Shu finally decided to go to the ancient ruins with Lu Chen. At least with him here, Lu Chen wouldn't die easily. The ancient ruins are located to the west of the Dragon Kingdom. The virgin forest covers an area of tens of millions of square kilometers. Towering ancient trees block out the sun, poisonous insects and beasts are dormant. The terrain is even more complicated, with forests, volcanoes, snow peaks. It is no exaggeration to say that the ancient ruins are the most dangerous places in the Dragon Kingdom. For many years, in order to prevent the monster beasts from rioting in the ancient ruins, the Dragon Kingdom has spent tens of thousands of manpower, material resources, and financial resources in this unknown ruins every year. So far, this ruins is still mostly a mysterious area, and no human has ever set foot in it. Legend records that the ancient ruins were once the site of a battle between the human race and the monster race in ancient times. If you are lucky, you might get something inherited from an ancient power. But that's just a legend. After all, these ruins are endless, and trying to get that inheritance is like looking for a needle in a haystack. All in all, the ancient ruins are treacherous and dangers are everywhere. But every year, tens of thousands of warriors come here to practice. However, more than half of the people died in this ruins. It took 3 days. Lu Chen also arrived at the outskirts of the ancient ruins. On the outskirts of the ancient ruins, there is a bamboo village with raised eaves and corners. The village is surrounded by mountains, which protects the bamboo village well. It was early morning, and the lush mountains were filled with hazy mountain fog. This village is a place specially provided for warriors to rest. Injured warriors can receive treatment here to avoid losing their lives. Lu Chen and Dugu Zan were sitting in the tea house, sipping the fragrant tea in the cups. Around Lu Chen, warriors in 2s and 3s sat together drinking and talking. Lu Chen quietly listened to the conversations of the people around him, trying to get some useful information from them. Have you all heard? A 6th grade spiritual grass, the flame lotus, was born in the Flame Valley. It's just that it's not the time for it to bloom yet, but I heard that it will bloom in a few days. By then, I don't know how many warriors will fight for this flame lotus. Hey, how can we covet this kind of spiritual grass? Brother Zhao is saying that it is most practical for me and other martial lords to just stay on the periphery, kill some middle and low-level monsters, and use their monster pills to exchange for some coins. That's wrong. Brother Dong, have you ever heard of a snipe and a clam fighting, with the fishermen benefiting? If we take advantage of both of them to lose, and we take action again, wouldn't we? The man called Brother Dong smiled and said nothing. 2 dogs fight, play off, but at that time, I don't know who will be the last fisherman. In the bamboo basket at Lu Chen's feet, Grey Cub restlessly poked his little head out. In order to prevent the Grey Cub from causing trouble for him, Lu Chen kept it in the bamboo basket. This little guy was also very obedient, but as time went by, he gradually became dishonest. It whined as if it was hungry. The drunken drinkers around him were instantly attracted by the sound. Huh? What sound? Did you hear any strange sounds? I heard it too. It seemed like the howling of a monster. The sound seems to be coming from this bamboo basket. Sure enough, the Grey Cub's cry instantly attracted the attention of the surrounding warriors. Their attention was focused on the bamboo basket at Lu Chen's feet. Lu Chen kicked the bamboo basket, trying to make Grey Cub be honest. As a result, the wolf cub rested its little paws on the edge of the bamboo basket and stretched its little head out of the bamboo basket. It blinked its eyes as bright as rubies, looked directly at Lu Chen, and growled, hinting that Lu Chen was hungry. The appearance of the moon-eating demonic wolf immediately confused the surrounding warriors. The mark of the waning moon on the cub's head and its deep red eyes are clearly the unique symbols of the moon-eating demonic wolf clan. This is the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf. Why does it appear here? What, the moon-eating demon wolf? Isn't it a high-level monster that only lives in the depths of the ruins? Why does it appear outside the ruins? In an instant, the eyes of the people around him became visibly hot, and their greed was unabashedly revealed. Lu Chen curled his lips, pressed Wei Zai's head down again, ignored everyone's surprised looks, and continued to taste the fragrant tea in his hands. But the fiery eyes in the eyes of the people around him did not return to normal because of Lu Chen's actions. The demonic pill of the moon-eating demonic wolf is definitely not measured by money, and this is a living wolf cub in front of him. At this time, the man who was just called Brother Dong stood up and said with a smile, "Dong Qing, what do you call me? Did you find this moon-eating demonic wolf near the Zusan village?" Lu Chen didn't raise his eyes because it was in his eyes. At this time, Dong Qing was already a dead man. Seeing that Lu Chen and Dugu Shu didn't pay attention to him, the corners of Dong Qing's mouth twitched slightly. But Dong Qing did not dare to act rashly until the two of them revealed their true strength. Most of the warriors here are those who lick blood at the tip of their swords. If you provoke them at will, you may put yourself in an irreversible situation. Dong Qingshan smiled and said, "Don't be surprised, you too. This is the first time I have met the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf. It is also out of curiosity and I have no intention of coveting it." Under the black robe, Dugu Zan's cold eyes flickering slowly raised his head and smiled coldly at Dong Qingsan. That weird smile was like a poisonous snake from the 9 nether hell. Looking into Dugu Shu's eyes, Dong Qing's throat couldn't help but make a squeaking sound, and he hurriedly took 2 steps back before standing up. For some reason, the old man in black robe in front of him gave him an unfathomable feeling. It was as if one look could kill him. Dong Qing's back was dripping with cold sweat, and he bowed apologetically and said, "Senior, please don't be angry. I've offended you so much. I'm really sorry." Ha ha, ha ha ha. The diners who had just been drinking with Dong Qing laughed loudly and said jokingly, "Dong Qing, you are really getting more and more alive. This old man's look almost scared you to the point of peeing. Look at you, you look so worthless." "Zhao Ji, shut up, do you have the right to speak here?" After being scolded by Dong Qing, Zhao Ji's smile faded and he looked at Lu Chen unhappily. "Hey, my brother wants to ask you, where did you find this moon-eating demonic wolf?" Zhao Ji slammed the table and roared with wide eyes. "You're really looking for death." Just when Dugu Zan was about to kill the two of them, a soft and smart voice came from above the bamboo building. If you dare to cause trouble on my territory, I don't mind leaving you in this Zusan village completely." The sound of nature, like the singing of a lark, fell on the ears of everyone downstairs. Zhao Ji was agitated and hurriedly admitted his mistake. "Auntie, I know I was wrong. Get out of here, yes, yes, you villain, get out of here." Zhao Ji and Dong Qing fled in a panic as if they had received amnesty, fearing that they would make the people upstairs unhappy. Dugu Shu looked at the backs of the two of them, a sharp cold light flashing in his dim eyes. From under his black robe, a bloodthirsty poisonous scorpion crawled out and chased in the direction where the two left. In the bamboo building, a woman wearing a dark green dress walked out, followed by a young boy with a milky white face. The woman wore smoky makeup, and her brown hair naturally fell to her waist. She gently swayed a green bamboo fan in her bare hands, and the breeze blew her hair, exuding a light fragrance. The woman's tender eyes finally fell on the bamboo basket beside Lu Chen. She pursed her red lips, twisted her fragrant jade body, and walked towards Lu Chen from behind. The woman's white catkins gently rested on Lu Chen's shoulders, and then she smiled and said, "My little lady, seeing the two guests looking so familiar to each other, I wonder what they should be called." Lu Chen did not turn around, but said coldly, "Take your dirty hands off my shoulders, or I won't mind chopping your hands off." Although Chu Shuang's jade body exudes a faint fragrance, but it couldn't cover up the male aura remaining in her body at all. The woman didn't mind Lu Chen's coldness at all and took back her catkin calmly. She lightly pursed her lips and said, "The little girl's name is Chu Shuanger, and she is responsible for taking charge of the Zushan village for the village leader. You two are new here, so you are probably not familiar with the surrounding environment. Why don't you let the little girl lead the way? Would you like to accompany you two for a walk?" Chu Shuanger looked at Lu Chen quietly, waiting for his next words. The charming eyes kept making secret glances, trying to arouse Lu Chen's interest. She is best at dealing with little men like this. What Chu Shuanger can be sure of is that it won't be long before Lu Chen becomes interested in her and likes her as much as she likes. "Miss Shuanger, you're welcome. We are just here to rest for a while and will leave in a while." Lu Chen's voice was still cold. He is not a fool. This Chu Shuanger will come early or late to serve. It happened that after Grey Cub's traces were revealed, he came out to strike up a conversation. If she didn't covet this little wolf cub, she would be a ghost. Chu Shuanger bit her lip gently and clenched her fists slightly. She never doubted her own charm. Otherwise, she would not be able to convince the owner of Zushan village to manage the Zushan village for him. On weekdays, countless men are very attentive to her and fall under her pomegranate skirt. Today, Chu Shuanger felt defeated by a man for the first time. Being rejected in front of everyone really made her feel a little lost. Chu Shuanger smiled forcefully and said, "You two probably arrived at Zushan village early this morning. How about you rest in my inn for 2 days?" "That's fine, we're worried about having no place to stay." Lu thought for a long time, and finally nodded lightly and agreed. Lu Chen didn't refuse this time because he needed a place to rest. And he doesn't know much about the environment around Zushan village, and it does take some time to get familiar with it. You can't just wander around here like a headless fly, right? However, the covetousness of the people around him for the moon-eating demon wolf has not diminished at all, which makes Lu Chen very angry. But Lu Chen was not afraid, it was nothing more than a trouble spot. Just kill a few more blind things. Human life is the least valuable thing in this ancient ruins. Seeing Lu Chen's promise, Chu Shuanger smiled and said with a slight frown on her eyebrows, "Come here, prepare some wine. I want to have a few drinks with these two distinguished guests myself." "There is no need to prepare wine. Miss Shuanger, please prepare 2 guest rooms for us. I'm tired after 3 days of traveling." Chu Shuanger's smile was slightly stiff, her beautiful eyes dropped slightly and she said, "Okay then, Xiao Luer, take the 2 distinguished guests up to select rooms. You must not neglect them." At this time, the fair young man behind Chu Shuanger stepped forward and said, "2 guests, please follow me." Lu Chen picked up the bamboo basket and followed the fair boy upstairs. After Lu Chen left, the smile on Chu Shuanger's face disappeared in an instant. She bit her white teeth lightly, her eyes hidden with coldness, and she couldn't feel any warmth. A bartender said displeased, "Madam, we are just 2 foreign warriors. Are they worth your efforts to please?" "Shut up, do I need you to teach me how to do something?" Shu Shuang'er whispered. It is precisely because they are foreign warriors that I should deal with them more cautiously. If I guess correctly, that young master should be a member of a certain family who is out for training, and that old man is that young master's servant. The bartender seemed to have been used to Shu Shuang'er's cold words, and continued. Madam, do you need me to investigate their identities secretly? Shu Shuang'er shook her head slightly and warned. No, don't provoke them. The fool who offended them just now should have died in their hands. The bartender broke into a cold sweat when he heard this. I understand, madam. Shu Shuang'er glanced at the bartender and the surrounding drinkers, leaned close to the boy's ear, narrowed her cold eyes and whispered softly. Help me go to Maoshan village to get the news about the moon-eating demon wolf. After Lu Chen put down the bamboo basket, the gray cub jumped out directly from the bamboo basket, swaying its gray tail, meowing, and rubbing its little head against Lu Chen's trouser legs. Its deep red eyes stared straight at Lu Chen, like two blood moons. Lu Chen was speechless. This little guy was indeed a trouble wherever he went. After he took out the food from the system space, Gray Cub was willing to calm down. Unfortunately, the system space cannot store living things. Otherwise, he would definitely put the little wolf cub into the system space and starve it to death. Towards evening, Dugu Chan appeared in Lu Chen's room like a ghost. He casually handed a scroll-like parchment to Lu Chen and said, This is a map near Zusan village. In addition to Zusan village, there is also a nearby village called Maoshan village. There is also the Dragon Valley that you asked me to inquire about for you. I asked the warriors nearby, but I didn't get any information. Where did you hear the news about the Dragon Valley? Dugu Chan's hoarse voice was accompanied by suspicion. Does Dragon Valley really exist? Anyway, Dugu Zan had never heard of the rumors about Dragon Valley in his whole life. Lu Chen frowned and said nothing. Of course Dragon Valley existed. In the original work, Xu Feng used the remaining essence and blood in the bones of an ancient dragon in the Dragon Valley to complete the body tempering and awaken the dragon god's bloodline. Possessing the two special bloodlines of dragon and phoenix, in the ancient martial arts world, people killed people and Buddhas killed Buddhas. Lu Chen must find the dragon body before Xu Feng and seize his opportunity. But when the time comes, the woman from the Long family will also come, right? She is a problem. The moonlight in the mountains at night is bright and moving, the crystal-clear jade plate hangs high in the sky, the misty cloud shadows float like smoke, and the sky and the earth flicker. The roar of monsters came from the depths of the mountains, causing thousands of trees to tremble, startling the soul. Lu Chen sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice silently. Although he can directly increase his martial power through destiny points, Xu Feng is missing now, and he will not meet fat sheep such as Son of Destiny or Daughter of Destiny to provide him with destiny points for a while. Lu Chen also understands that cultivating a discipline is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. He would spend several hours every day to stabilize the energy in his body. However, this calm only lasted for a while before it was shattered by the killing cries that rang out from all over the village. Under the moonlit night, a blazing fire broke out in Zushan village. The flames lit up the entire village, and the killing cries in Zushan village resounded throughout the world. Shu Shuang'er, get out of here. Don't think that I don't know that you are hiding the cub of the moon-eating demonic wolf, and yet you dare to hide it from me. I will kill you, stinky bitch, today. A violent roar came from under the bamboo building, waking Lu Chen out of his cultivation state. He frowned in displeasure. There really was a bedbug looking for death. Brothers, follow me to kill Shu Shuang'er. Find the cubs of the moon-eating demonic wolf, and exchange them for money for wine. Instigated by the strong man at the head, a group of warriors rushed into the bamboo building with swords in hand and shouting. Lu Chen was naturally too lazy to meddle in such nosy matters, but if he dared to make any plans against Grey Cub, he would kill them without hesitation. At this time, there was a rapid knock on the door, accompanied by Shu Shuang'er's rapid breathing. Master, open the door quickly and save me. Shu Shuang'er's loose skirt was half covered, and a touch of snow white was about to emerge from her chest. However, she covered her chest tightly with her bare hands, covering her body just right. A large group of warriors swarmed into the bamboo building. She was so frightened that she had no time to tidy up her clothes and ran out of Lu Chen's room in a panic. In her eyes, no one except Lu Chen could save her. You stinky bitch, you still want to run away. That bastard Lu Yu is not here. Let's see if I don't kill you, stinky bitch, tonight. A strong man with a heavy back and a heavy body stepped forward, pulled Chu Shuanger's hair, and pressed her head to the ground, which showed how much resentment he had towards Chu Shuanger. Zhang Yi, you damn bastard, you only dare to attack Zusan village without the village leader. If you really want to be a man, let me go. If you have anything to do, wait until the village leader comes back to tell him. Chu Shuang the son gritted his teeth and said, Chu Shuanger, you bitch, today I will let you know whether I am a man or not. As he spoke, Zhang Yi began to untie his belt. Cough. Then, an awkward cough came from behind Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi turned around and realized that there were countless pairs of eyes staring at him behind him. This made him a little embarrassed. Zhang Yi tied up his belt again, stepped on Chu Shuanger's head and asked, You bitch, where did you hide the moon-eating demonic wolf? Chu Shuanger raised her glazed eyes and looked at the door, then quickly lowered her head to prevent herself from showing any abnormality. Chu Shuanger's every move fell completely in Zhang Yi's eyes. He said with a joking smile, It turns out that you hid her in here, making it really easy for me to find her. No. No, the moon-eating demonic wolf is not inside at all. Chu Shuanger explained hurriedly. Get out! Zhang Yi shouted loudly and kicked Chu Shuanger to the ground, and then he kicked open the door. He saw the moon-eating demon wolf hugging Lu Shen's thigh and trembling, staring at him with eyes like red moons. It is indeed the moon-eating demonic wolf. Oh, Chu Shuanger, I really underestimated your meanness. As soon as that old dog Lu Yu left, you couldn't wait to find a pretty boy. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Boy, give me the moon-eating demonic wolf behind you, and I'll let you go. Zhang Yi's eyes widened with anger and he shouted loudly, with a smile of success on his lips. As long as he sells this moon-eating demonic wolf, he will make a fortune. In this life, I no longer have to live a life of bloodlust on the edge of a knife, and I can live a stable life. Lu Chen looked at the man with scars at the corners of his eyes. His eyes were deep and he said coldly, How noisy. Give you a chance to kneel down and beg for mercy. Huh? What did you say, kid? Do you know who I am? Zhang Yi had a fierce look in his eyes, pointed the tip of the knife in his hand and asked Lu Chen gloomily. Of course I don't know who you are, but do you know who I am? Lu Chen asked with a joking smile. You brat who doesn't know the bounds of heaven and earth, I'll kill you. Since you don't even know who I am, there's no need for you to live. There was a faint cold light in the depths of Lu Chen's eyes. He raised his arms and said in a low voice, Fengqi dance in the sky. A strange flame burst out from Lu Chen's palm, twisting his body enchantingly. The firelight emitted heart-stopping fluctuations, as if the true energy in the world was being burned by it. Only a loud phoenix cry was heard resounding through the sky. A phoenix condensed from flames slowly spread its wings behind Lu Chen. In an instant, the heaven and earth were extinguished, and the raging flames ignited the entire bamboo building. Zhang Yi's liver and gallbladder were shattered. He raised his knife and did not dare to step forward. He was stunned in place for a moment. This pretty boy looks young, but he actually has the same strength as a late-stage 5th-grade martial lord like him. The zhenqi in Zhang Yi's body seemed to have been evaporated, decreasing sharply. His eyes were horrified and he said, My zhenqi is losing. What's going on? Back off, this guy's martial arts skills are weird. I want to leave, do I agree? As Lu Chen's palm fell, the flaming phoenix behind him spread its wings and smashed towards Zhang Yi. The scorching wave of air blew away all the people behind him, and Zhang Yi's whole person was engulfed by the phoenix flames. Ah! The severe burning pain made Zhang Yi extremely painful. He rolled in the flames, trying to extinguish the strange phoenix flames. But everything is in vain. The moment he stepped into this wine shop, his fate was already doomed. Run! Run! The tree fell and the macaques dispersed. Seeing that Zhang Yi was defeated in one round, his group of brothers wanted to escape in a panic. They turned around but found a dark phantom in the corridor. The black-robed figure raised his eyes and smiled ghostly, passing by them like a ghost. After they looked at each other in shock, they found a deep blood mark on each person's neck. Immediately afterwards, one after another fell at Dugu Shu's feet and were swallowed up by the sea of fire. The domineering phoenix flames set the entire bamboo village wine shop on fire. Lu Chen kicked Chu Shuanger out, then picked up the gray cub at his feet and appeared outside the bamboo building. Zhang Yi's warriors from Maoshan village were all perished in the sea of fire. Chu Shuang'er fell heavily to the ground, a sweet taste welling up in her mouth. Ignoring her injuries, she slowly stood up and moved lightly in front of Lu Chen. She said pitifully, "Thank you for saving your life, young master. I have nothing to repay, but I am willing to serve you as a dog and horse." Lu Chen narrowed his cold eyes. The phoenix flame in his hand was still burning, and he asked coldly, "Did you reveal the news about the moon-eating demonic wolf to them and lure them here to test me?" Under the illumination of the fire, Chu Shuang'er's face turned pale, and she said with horror, "Young master is joking. How could I do such a stupid thing of setting myself on fire? The news must have been leaked by the drinkers this morning. It must be like this." "Oh, are you sure? I have to say, Miss Shuang'er, your acting skills are really poor. Do you think there is a possibility that everyone who saw the moon-eating demonic wolf this morning, except for you and the bartender in this restaurant, is already dead?" Lu Chen's sword-shaped eyebrows suddenly darkened, and his voice sounded like it came from the Nine Nether Hell, with a chill that made people palpitate. Chu Shuang'er's blank eyes slightly raised, her face turned ashen, her eyes dimmed, and she murmured, "Young master, you mean to say that you have killed them all? If not, master, spare your life." Chu Shuang'er fell to her knees on the cold ground. She hadn't realized how stupid she was until now. "Spare your life? Give me a reason not to kill you." Lu Chen raised his palm, and Chu Shuang'er felt a giant hand in the void pinching her neck. She was lifted up and hung in the air, almost suffocating. "Sir, spare your life, don't kill me, I still have value." Hearing this, Lu Chen let go of Chu Shuang'er, and she fell to the ground, gasping for air. Cough. Cough. "Young master, you came to the ancient ruins just to find an opportunity for a breakthrough. The little girl knows a hidden secret, maybe she can help the master break through." "Where is the secret?" Lu Chen was immediately interested. He didn't know what kind of surprise Chu Shuang'er's secrets would bring to him. The little girl doesn't know where it is specifically, but Lu Yu, the leader of Zusan village, has the secret map in his hand. Not long ago, a spiritual grass, the flame lotus, was born in the Lian Valley. Lu Yu went to the Lian Valley to guard the flame lotus a long time ago. "Master, as long as you take me to the Flame Valley and threaten Lu Yu with my life, he will obediently dedicate the secret map to you." "Very good." Hearing this, Chu Shuang'er's lips curled up slightly, showing her joy for the rest of her life. But Lu Chen changed his voice and said, "Then you can die in peace." The phoenix flames in Lu Chen's hand struck Chu Shuang'er, and almost instantly the phoenix flames spread all over her body. Chu Shuang'er said in fear, "Ah, young master, I made a mistake, don't kill me." There was no trace of pity in Lu Chen's eyes, and what Chu Shuang'er said was wrong. "It's just a way for the weak to beg for mercy." Lu Chen murmured to himself, as expected of the phoenix flame. "This domineering power is enough for me to compete with a 6th-grade martial saint. Coupled with the heavenly-level martial arts 9 heaven phoenix flame, I am invincible under the martial saint." Dugu Chan looked at Lu Chen with his gloomy eyes. Lu Chen's strength was impressively reaching the late stage of a 5th-grade martial lord. He had mixed feelings in his heart at the moment, and he didn't know whether to be happy or worried. Now that Lu Chen is so powerful that he has the ability to protect himself, where should he go? Will his ending be like this group of people?